measures, and the former president is safe. So yes, no life-threatening wounds. The former president is safe. That's what we're hearing from the Secret Service. That's what we're hearing from the Trump campaign. We are also hearing from the governor of Pennsylvania, who, by the way, is a Democrat, the Governor Josh Shapiro. He's been briefed on the situation as the governor where this all took place, and he has put out a statement saying violence targeted at any political party or political any political party is absolutely unacceptable. It has no place in Pennsylvania or in the United States. By the way, we're hearing from several others in the political world. Democratic Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, saying violence has no place in our democracy. My thoughts are with...
Yeah, right-wingers are already like, what's more badass, the mugshot or this pig?
Another Democrat. There's no place for political violence in this country. I am horrified. Bipartisan statements of concern for former President Trump and condemning whatever has happened here. Steve Scalise, this one's also interesting because as you remember, Congressman Steve Scalise, the number 2 Republican in the House, himself was shot at a practice for a congressional baseball game 7 years ago, sustained very serious injuries, was really touch and go for some time.
Let's get you. We haven't watched the raw footage. Let's watch the raw footage here.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
I don't know that sounds like a gun. I'm no expert, but...
Holden, if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Did appear to get multiple shots off. The convention is Monday.
Holden, if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
That's tough. Hey, to ABC News.
Gotten the very basic information, which is that he is safe.
Not high enough for the shit.
Further protective measures, and that the injuries here are not life-threatening. But beyond that, we just don't know. And frankly, I think even those very close to Donald Trump at this point are trying to get further detail about exactly what happened and how he's doing.
All right, John Carl, we're going to go to John Santucci now, who I know has been communicating with the Trump campaign. John, you were with us earlier. What more are you learning tonight?
So right now, what I can tell you that members of Donald Trump's family, so far as I understand it, have not spoken to the former president directly, according to my sources. They have been receiving calls and updates from people that were on the ground with the former president, and have also, I'm told, received briefings from the Secret Service. Remember, these are, in some cases, as we were talking about earlier with John Carl, the fact that Donald Trump has had Secret Service protection for so many years, so many of these agents have been around the former president, his children for nearly a decade. So there is a very close relationship, and thus I do think that's part of the reason why the family has been getting such, up-to-minute information, if you will. I can also tell you that for the most part, there is a bit of a sigh of relief, if you will, in the sense that everyone is being told that same word, he's fine. Of course, that image causing alarm that many people within Donald Trump's inner orbit that were not physically with him. And I do think that's really important, as we spoke about earlier with, this is a rally that normally many close allies, many members of the president's family usually join him for these big events. But of course, so many of them are either getting ready to or already on the ground out in Milwaukee preparing for the start of the Republican convention. I will just say a little bit, Whit, because I think it's important, and you and I talked about this earlier, as much as Donald Trump loves this rally, I have been told by sources for the last week, Donald Trump has been in one of the best moods of late, and it's in part because of all the speculation.
Gives a shit about what kind of a mood he's in.
He was getting, because this was the rally with, as you know, we reported at one point, it was possible that Donald Trump was going to reveal his vice presidential pick. Now, of course, that didn't happen because of what would happen on site, but I also can tell you that Donald Trump has said he wanted to keep this grand reveal to Monday when the convention was beginning. But nevertheless, I do just think it speaks to the president's state of mind going into this rally. We know from all of our years of covering Donald Trump, these are the events he loves the most. He thrives off of the crowds, the audiences. He'll often say he's yelled at the fire commissioner to let more people in. But nevertheless, we must stress these events are so guarded by the Secret Service, and anybody that comes into them, of course, going through magnetometers, going through screening. But I think that you are going to have to imagine, even for Donald Trump, who takes his own personal security very, it was a prized possession, very careful, always listening to the Secret Service. I would be very curious, of course, now leaning into those reports and what I'm hearing from my sources that he's fine, how a Donald Trump rally changes going forward. And, I was reminded by a colleague of ours there have been scares before at rallies of Donald Trump. People have yelled things. I was at a rally once, I'm almost positive it was in Las Vegas, where someone yelled gun, and the president, at that time, candidate Trump, was rushed off stage in 2016. But never have we seen something like this that has caused such a...
Not high enough for this shit.
For the former president and his family, Whit.
Yeah, regardless of what happened here, as we're watching these images come through, they are quite remarkable. And
I didn't want to stream this shit. I didn't want to stream politics. If I streamed anything today, which was
you're getting
slim chance probably, I would have done like music. Maybe tried to get the video games going.
Democrat there in the House.
Oregon gal, good evening.
Leader Hakeem Jeffries put out a statement saying, "My thoughts and prayers are with the former president. I am thankful for the decisive law enforcement response. America is a democracy. Political violence of any kind is never acceptable." I know you've been talking.
There's a dude in a wall suit.
Other Democrats that, of course, been weighing in. This goes beyond partisan politics. People in Washington, of course, across the political spectrum, hoping and making sure that the former president is okay. And
holy shit, the dynamics of this election
for their sort of decisive response. I can tell you
have been shaken to the core over the last 2 weeks.
Standard posture. They don't talk to us about security protocol. That's a part of their protocol to keep their plans to themselves. That's a part of how they keep presidents safe. The White House campus is not on lockdown. There are still tours going on, as is often the case on the weekends. I can tell you they've pushed back the perimeter at the White House. There's not protesters or tourists walking on Pennsylvania Avenue, but that happens from time to time, and the Secret Service would not confirm that they did that in response to this incident.
It'd be funny if it was still Team 6.
Right around the same time. The president's traveling with the president
Biden
in
had
Delaware,
ordered the assassination.
Notice what seemed to them to be a heightened security protocol with the president at Delaware. In Delaware,
an official act per the Supreme Court.
That's to be expected. I would imagine there would be absolutely a heightened protocol, though the president is so guarded. But like I said,
to be clear, I condemn political violence.
About their plans, how they work to keep the president safe, and at this point, they are being very tight-lipped about what happened.
Yeah, that, again, unclear exactly what the heightened protocol is, but we definitely know that when
I'm pro-sexual violence
across the board, we see changes made to law enforcement and additional protections to some of the people who they deem might be vulnerable in a moment like this. Let's go back to Rachel Scott, who's still there in Pennsylvania.
I'm pissed off they picked a Saturday to do this.
At the rally with you.
Yeah, and these two Trump supporters are just making their way out. Tell me what you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the popping sounds and you got down?
Sounds. At first you think like maybe firecrackers.
Good evening.
It continued, and then somebody yelled, "Get down." We got down, and we huddled, and we started praying. And we just started praying, and thank God, a little while later, we got up. When we saw other people get up, we saw Trump get up, raise his fist like I'm okay, and we kept praying.
A lot of people were praying.
I got a birthday card to Trump right before his birthday, Flag Day, and
Probably 50-50 on both sides.
a card to him. Security was going to give it to him here, and it in the card it said that
Holiday. Nick.
You kept praying. And what about you? How did you feel when you heard those sounds? What did you do?
I felt really bad.
Is that John Fetterman behind her?
What kind of life are they going to have if this goes on, if people don't have the right to say what they want?
You told me that you were
Oh, Twitter is a dumpster fire right now.
No, we were like from here to where that thing is.
And you got down. You said you got down immediately.
Yeah.
This is absolutely insane.
My daughter-in-law, Lisa, she said for us to hurry up and get down. And she called her husband because he was standing right by the pole, and he got down also. We were just, it's
tweeting with your dick in your hand.
When someone does something like that. I mean, you don't have our,
I can't believe, I literally saw the meme like last night. Presidents don't get shot like they used to.
Heart to be able to have freedom and everything, but
Torchy brings up a good point. It could be a foreign agent.
A lot of people. It was.
Well, we're happy you both are okay. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Please get home safe.
I would assume domestic.
Just a little bit of the
but you can't rule it out.
I've been actually hearing from a lot of the Trump supporters. Those two people that I just talked to, one woman told me that she was here with her family. They were very close to the stage. She said that all she just heard were just get down, and they said immediately they just started praying, hoping that
get off at work.
Okay, they were in the front. They are just now. It's been. I believe it's been over a half an hour. They are just now being able to escort out of this area, partially because you had a lot of the elderly people who gathered here, elderly Trump supporters who sat in those front rows are just sort of making their way out now, being escorted out. But everyone that I've been talking to, as they're leaving, they're still shaken up. They're asking us if we know what had happened. Everyone's checking on each other, asking if one another is okay. This is a crowd that's still visibly shaken up. And I think that she made a really good point, Whit, because at these rallies, the former president's podium is not far away from the
I don't think Trump could harm himself. I don't think he could sign up for
very close to him, and so those
letting himself be harmed.
For a lot of those Trump supporters that were there, we all heard them. Our press writers,
I don't like pain,
off as well, and then immediately everyone just took cover.
That Carlos Santana looking motherfucker was all excited.
Scott, once again, and while we don't know exactly what happened, we do know for sure it was a frightening and chaotic moment for all the people who were there. And Rachel bringing that to us from those witnesses who were in the crowd, talking about getting down on the ground and praying and hoping for the best. Let's bring in our ABC News contributor, Reince Priebus, of course, former head of the
Reince Priebus,
former chief of staff.
Igloo. Good afternoon.
And Reince, just your take on these images and what you're seeing today and what people within the Trump campaign are telling you now. Reince Priebus, this is Whit in New York. Can you hear me?
Santana motherfuckers tend to be excited.
All right, forgive us for having some technical difficulties. Reince Priebus. Let's go back to John Carl once again. Milwaukee, our chief Washington correspondent. John,
what kind of name is that?
Ready to cover the Republican National Convention. The news, John, in the next 48 hours was supposed to be who was going to be former President Trump's running mate, and we
like assassins that succeed.
Candidates, who it could be, and there was so much attention around this event. There was the possibility that Trump could hint to his possible pick, and a lot of people
maybe it was Marco Rubio's camp.
And now this horrific incident playing out.
On the news that it's apparently going to be J.D. Vance.
And by the way, separately, with this event is one of the most secure places in the country right now, as they have basically fortified the entire area for several blocks around this convention center.
Careful, Icarus.
We just noticed over the last 10 minutes or so is some kind of apparently military helicopter kind of circling above. I'm sure this place is already secure before what happened today. But you can imagine the level of concern just got ramped up even more so.
Seriously, this is the first time since
I mentioned to you
Reagan
a short while ago that I was on the floor of the convention talking to the Republican National Committee.
Been a long time.
Michael Whatley, when this news broke, he got a phone call, came in and quickly rushed off the floor. Everybody.
That looks gruesome.
What happened? We do have a full statement from the Trump campaign. We had some of this information earlier, but now a full statement from the Trump campaign saying President Trump thanks law enforcement.
I just shared out a thing that was like, it must be wild being William Hinckley to go into prison hated and come out in two separate generations.
To follow. That is from
I think the only thing you did wrong was
campaign. It matches what we have heard from the spokesperson.
Not hit your target.
Saying that the former president is safe. The former president is safe. And it's very important to point out that we still at this point don't know exactly what happened. We don't even know for sure if the popping noise that everybody assumed.
You think it's a 22? Why do you think it's a 22 flash?
We can't confirm that was gunfire. We saw those incredibly dramatic pictures. We see the blood coming from the former president's ear.
Yeah, well, he makes music now too. Like he's a musician. He got out of prison.
Secret Service agents who are essentially jumping on him and bringing him down. It's quite possible he could have been injured in some way during the process of the Secret Service protecting him from more severe injury. So
welcome in. Glad to have you here live.
The fact that this incident happened on live TV, that you hear the popping, that seems to be apparent gunfire. I have in my hands from political leaders across the.
That's why you think it's a 22.
The very idea.
So like it doesn't sound like gunfire.
And hoping for the safety, praying for the safety of the.
Could it have been a ghost gun?
Both from the Secret Service
of some
and from
sort.
His campaign appears to be safe and doing fine.
Some sort of homemade plastic
that has
printed.
Some resonance beyond the others is from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who, of course, is mounting a third-party campaign for president. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., of course.
It looks like he lost the top, but he got Holyfield
during the 1968 Democratic primary when he was assassinated just after the.
I ordered groceries. I'm gonna have to grab my groceries here in a second.
Now is the time for every American who loves our country to step back from the division, renounce all violence, and unite in prayer for President Trump and his family. That from Bobby Kennedy Jr. But again, bottom line, we hear from the campaign, the president is fine.
Praying for him. Well, I mean,
from the Secret Service, the former president is safe.
John Carl, once again, thank you.
Barry will be arriving by like 7:48
in Pennsylvania, outside the venue where all of this occurred. Rachel, you've been talking to witnesses, people who were there at that rally. What more are you hearing?
Rush Limbaugh finally died.
And people are still mingling around here waiting to leave.
Good afternoon.
This is Gabby. Gabby,
good evening.
You were in the second row. Yeah. Describe what you saw.
Hello, Gabby.
I think I saw all the Secret Service kind of cover Trump. They did a really good job about that, making sure he was protected, telling everyone to get down. So I think they did take a good care of making sure everyone was understanding what was going on and being serious but not freaking everybody out.
Let me be clear on terminology. A ghost gun is a gun that doesn't have a
my
serial
number,
number,
right? Went on top of me, which
I used
nice,
the term incorrectly.
A lot of people.
I guess a printed gun would be a type of ghost gun.
What was going on originally?
But that doesn't mean that all printed guns are.
I think everyone listened pretty well, and it was handled pretty well.
Did you see some?
A very American term, warlord. No need to concern yourself.
Sort of swarm around another individual, or did you ultimately just rush out?
No, we were there for a minute because they did tell us.
So Ghost Gun sounds fun.
I think that was good because it helped like calm people down. But I think one of the stands that I was next to, they did like carry out a man, and there was another one that might have been injured. I'm not 100% sure, but definitely one at least. And on the other,
we were talking like a 3D printed gun. We're talking about like plastic.
There were like a bunch of like men in uniform like surrounding someone
or whatever. It's not actually plastic. It's whatever they use.
You said that you were very impressed.
Great.
By the speed in which Secret Service was able to get on that stage.
Yes, I can, Drake. Everybody in the Discord knew exactly what I was doing.
I definitely felt protected in the situation. The sniper was.
Everyone was like, Justin's playing cowboys and Indians.
On the scene, like, did a great job. I mean, like, of course, it was like nerve-wracking in the moment, but I never felt like I was.
Socialist Don, good evening.
Which was cool. They were on the president, which I'm very thankful of.
My
job,
Socialist
protecting
Don.
him and getting him out as quick as possible.
That game is woke.
Yeah,
you've played it. You know it's woke.
Rushed down. Yeah, we were all taking cover, and then it was panic that set in.
I was getting lectured by Black Dude Lenny about how I can't understand the racism.
And he kind of raised his fist, pumping it up in the air as he was being escorted off that ride.
It's not plastic. Like, it's a type of plastic, right? Flash.
I had the honor of being right in front when they were escorting some.
It's got some other fucking material to it.
And I got to see him like putting his fist up and everything. That was really awesome to see. Like, even relieved, also like having such a good, strong, like, charisma.
Polymer. Yes, there we go.
Yeah. Can I just ask you, now being on this end, we've been escorted out of this area. How are you feeling right now? I've been talking to a lot of people leaving. They're still a little shaken up about it, a little bit confused about what.
Haven't even played story mode. Wow.
All over the country to come to events like this. And within minutes, we heard those popping noises and that rally was over.
Mm-hmm. They did a great job escorting everybody. I mean, I'm probably one of the few that are like, I'm so glad I was here and got to witness this.
Yes, I can account for my whereabouts all afternoon. Everybody knows exactly what I was doing.
Police that I've seen, I've tried to like go up and congratulate them because like that's a hard job and like you have to be ready at any moment at all times, like that kind of thing. So it was really cool to like see them actually get to do.
Well, how does it not set off metal detectors then?
I mean, I'm still here for now. Gotta wait for my ride, but yeah, it's I feel fine. Yeah, okay. They did a good job.
Gabby, we so appreciate it. So that is just the scene that's playing out here. We still have a number of Trump supporters.
It is a long adventure. I put 100 hours into the first playthrough.
People here, so they're now clearing out.
I've already put another 60 hours in, but I've also done a little bit of online with my buddy.
Make their way back to their vehicles, but every Trump supporter.
Like, we played poker for hours.
Relief, hearing that
Red Dead 2
is okay.
And like,
also that sense of gratitude.
Matt, the first time you invited me, I hadn't even been online yet.
That situation with.
Well, Rachel,
no, I'd only played the story mode, so I would have had to play that whole prologue and shit, so I couldn't have just hopped into a room with you. I can now.
Is dead.
If you catch me at the right time, I will indeed pop in with you.
One bystander.
You'll have to catch me at the right time.
Possibly a second bystander dead as well. So again, that's from the district attorney.
I will eventually get me some Baldur's Gate.
Butler County telling ABC News.
It seems very much up my alley.
So this is the first time that we've had any kind of confirmation from a law enforcement source that shots were fired. And now learning that there are potentially, again, according to the DA, some fatalities associated with this incident at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania. Let's go back to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, you've been talking to your law enforcement sources. This is a major event.
Well, clearly, if this information holds up from the district attorney, who is the chief prosecutor for that area, that a bystander is dead and that the so-called shooter is dead as well, greatly enhances the concern that law enforcement would have about this situation. We've been with the Secret Service in recent days, with working with them, looking at their security plan for both conventions, the RNC and the DNC convention.
Well, if you're front row at a Trump rally,
they wanted to put forth in the conversations with me is that
not
they
the
believed that the threat
blame.
environment was quite dangerous and that all their training was geared toward dealing with events like this. They showed us the training of how they would move the president in the event of an attack. They showed what would happen if the president were fired on or if his motorcade were fired upon. They have drones that will be doing surveillance. So this has not been something in theory that they've been worried about. This has been an actual
not
concern.
confirmed.
And now that this has happened, law enforcement, which was already on a hair trigger, will now be at a threat
sources
level that we
say
haven't seen in quite some time.
And one fatality is a bystander, one fatality.
A shooter confirmed to be dead, a bystander as well, and potentially somebody else. I mean, this is going to raise major questions about what went wrong, how this could possibly happen in this heightened threat environment that you talked about. All the training, all the preparation, knowing the conventions are coming up. This would be a massive security failure.
Well, the question will be, what kind of security did they have for people in the crowd? You know, did they have magnetometers? You know, those kind of questions will need to be resolved and answered. And again, we don't yet know all the details.
Well, this is fucking wild.
Unfolded. You know, there are just so many scenarios where you could have law enforcement responding to the popping sounds.
If there's anybody just joining us, you want to watch the raw video, just say the word. We will
protect. That was their primary concern. Was
we'll go back and watch the raw video.
Way, get him removed. Briefing us, getting information to us is so secondary. But trust me, the Justice Department, FBI, all these different agencies are trying to get information so they can assess the threat environment and look at security across the board, because this is not going to be viewed just as an isolated incident. This potentially impacts everything going forward with.
And you see how quickly, again, our viewers looking at this video of the moment as it occurred, you see how quickly it happened. And initially the reaction.
This is the raw.
Holden, if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Yeah, there were about 4 shots. There's another one, a 5th. After the initial 2. It's a lot of math.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
There's 4, and then there's like another 4. That might be another, like a 9th one.
Holden, if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
So clinically thinks those last shots could have been the cops. Nathan, good evening.
Holden, if you want to really
I don't think they're
see
smart
something
enough
that
to try
said,
to
take a look at what
orchestrate
happened.
this. So apparently one person is dead that was in the crowd, and then the suspected shooter has been killed by law enforcement. Could be any number of agencies, possibly the Secret Service.
Fortunately, over my shoulder, someone had clearly been hit. I was in the
like the ABC News Live,
and up in the bleachers, probably 3 or 4 bleachers.
Trump is okay. No life-threatening injuries.
Like there was a man who was severely injured. There was a lot of blood, and his people around him were trying to administer first aid. And then the police, some police officers came in and carried him out, and presumably took him to get first aid. That's really all I could see. I don't know if there were other people injured, and I don't know if there was anybody apprehended, because as you might imagine, once that happened, the crowd was very chaotic, and it was very hard to know what was going on. And we're still there at the rally, just sitting trying to get out because the traffic is so backed up.
And Dave, your account seems to confirm some of this reporting that we're getting about a shooter and potential bystanders who were hurt. Just talk more about your initial reaction. I mean, seeing this, you're running for Senate in the state of Pennsylvania. You're about to walk up on the stage. You're getting introduced by the former president, and then you hear these shots ring out and the chaos in the crowd. What was going through your mind in that moment?
I was really hoping we get a car chase out of this.
Well, you know, it takes a minute to process. People started to panic all around. You could feel, you know, people were very scared, and so you know, everybody just dropped to the ground, and you know, it felt very obvious.
We covered that story.
The president was under assault, you know, and
calling me a chicken shit.
It wasn't clear that he was okay to begin with. And then, you know, once
I think we've even watched the body cam footage
out there,
or maybe it was self-promoted. I don't remember. We cover so many goddamn cop shootings.
You know, it's just like these, you know, situations.
Car chase Andy over here in D. That's my thing.
Over time that the facts start to come together, so you got to be careful not to draw too many conclusions early on. But I think
that happened like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my Lord, everybody's in danger because there's clearly a shooter, at least one shooter in the crowd.
I think it might have happened last month, and the footage came out like 2 weeks ago.
I think scary for everybody who was there, and shocking.
Doubt me, you weren't here for the stream where I covered it.
This rally, and it was, you know, kind of fun, and people were, you know, enthusiastic, and
sorry,
and
did
all
not
of a
mean
sudden,
to
you know, it was turned upside down.
What does this say to you about our state of division and the politics in this country right now?
There should be protests. I have been bitching about the fact that there haven't been protests over all these.
You know, obviously, it's you know, if you're a public official, if you're a presidential candidate, and you know your safety's at risk, that's scary for all of us, no matter what party you're in. And so
the only thing that I hate, because if I remember the story.
And
I remember it now. We watched the video. The kid turns around. He doesn't have a real gun. It's a toy gun. But he points the toy gun at the cops.
And all of a sudden, you know, the former president, his life is at risk.
They're like, why you got to do that?
We're peaceful people in the
I remember it now.
You know, are wounded potentially.
But I don't think people care about that right now. I think people are really into the Trump shooting
in our great country.
Dave McCormick, thank you for your time. We are so grateful that you are okay. Sadly, as we get this news that potentially some bystanders who were there, at least one.
Oh, I'm sure it's no great loss.
Thank you for your time. I do want to bring in Donald Mahalik, who is an ABC News contributor, former Secret Service. Donald, just walk us through, you've seen the images right now. Obviously, Secret Service agents trained for this in this moment, but what can you tell us about what played out here?
Well, you know, the Secret Service, this is what they train for. This is what they prepare for. Even the preparatory phase for any of these events is a week or more in planning. And part of the preparation is if an incident happens, whether it's an attack on a protectee or another major incident that could impact the event. What we saw here was something happened, and it sounds like from the Butler's DA that potentially a shooter was involved. So it would be an attempted assassination. Shots fired at the protectee, and the Secret Service moved in expeditiously to form a body bunker around the protectee and evacuate the protectee off the stage and move the protectee to a hard location, and then
imagine taking a bullet for Trump
to the hospital to be checked out. Everything on the video looks textbook of what the Secret Service trains to do, which is why they're the world's renowned.
I don't know if I can live the rest of my life.
They're supposed to perform.
Even though it was my job.
It's a sad day in America.
Meat cakes.
That this happened, but thankfully it sounds like President Trump is okay, and hopefully they find out why this individual did this, and they can get to the bottom of it.
And Donald, I know we're still getting more information and trying to get confirmation about exactly what happened, but the way you framed it really stood out to me, that the Secret Service would
been
attempted assassination, something this country has not seen in a very long time.
Two different presidents.
And
it amazes
me in terms
me
of the training and the moment and the response.
That they wouldn't have it, like, that's one of their things. They come in days ahead of time of when the president is going to be somewhere, or ex-president in this case.
Guest pointed out, And that threat matrix has contributed to on public officials, local, state.
Twice I've covered Trump being rushed to a hospital.
In this situation,
this is almost 4 years to the day
against one of our protectees.
Couple months off.
Elevates what's going on in the country, what's going on in the world, and it drives a lot of the Secret Service's protective methodology because the threat matrix around public officials.
But like the Secret Service comes in, and so they check out all the places where a sniper could be. They've got snipers.
Facet of at an event. Which is why, even though at times people complain about some of the security measures at these events, the Secret Service.
So it amazes me that there could be somebody that would be able to get shots off.
Of an event is secure.
I'm assuming it's a sniper.
We appreciate
but like
Elizabeth Newman.
It might not have been.
Homeland Security in the Trump administration. Elizabeth, what more can you tell us about the security procedures and how perhaps the investigation might play out from here?
Well, we're going to be seeing a lot more digging into the suspect, the shooter who we have been told has passed. We're going to be looking to find out where he has been, find out where he obtained the weapons that he used, looking into phones and computers and his online engagement. We know just historically the last 10 years, most mass attacks, most lone actor attacks do tend to radicalize online. They spend a lot of time online. They plan their attacks.
It is just another day.
Various sites online. So I imagine Secret Service and their supporting law enforcement agencies will be digging into his online profile as well as where he's been the last few days. If he has any associates, if anybody had some indications that something was wrong. We know that most mass attackers tend to have legal.
The news probably does not know the circumstances of the shooter's fate. They could have took their own life. I mean,
and they start to
this early. It's we assume it's law enforcement, but they might have taken their own life as well.
Their own life, or to take somebody else's life. To please call police. And that's really important after an event like this. We often do have copycats, or we have other people that are inspired to retaliate to whatever they perceive might be a political action. So
Trump was shot, Battle Opossum. He is okay.
Have any concerns about in your life?
Someone in the crowd has passed.
Life that might need help.
The apparent shooter is dead. That's all we know. This is
get help for that person.
Elizabeth Newman.
Still, what is it, like an hour and some change ago that this happened?
I understand President Biden now has also been briefed by the Secret Service. And we talked with numerous people today about this.
Possibly grazed his ear.
Heightened security threat level. Now that we're getting reports that potentially there were shots fired, a shooter was killed, and maybe a bystander, that changes everything, doesn't it now?
It does indeed. We're being told by our sources that President Biden is being briefed by Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas and Secret Service Director Cheeto. That gives you a sense of the
so incredibly close
going forward. And I can tell you with the Attorney General and the FBI Director, but the Attorney General in recent weeks has been openly concerned, telling the staff about his fears about this spike in threats aimed at political figures in this country. That, along with the ongoing war in Israel, the resurgence of ISIS, and basically, a lot of sources have been telling me their hair has basically been on fire because, as the FBI director said, he's never seen.
Oh yeah, I can't forget about my groceries.
Threat zone is elevated.
I ordered groceries
right now because this is has the potential of being an assassination plot. We don't know the details of that yet. That's not officially confirmed, but I can tell you that it will be looked at in that way. This is only going to increase the concerns that we're in this very sinister and concerning moment that law enforcement is going to have to factor in.
I think it was about an hour and a half ago.
Every rally that the President Biden, President Trump does going forward is going to have to be reassessed in terms of the level of security that is provided.
I've been on about an hour, and I feel like it happened about a half hour, 40 minutes before I got on.
Correspondent who's also been talking to law enforcement sources on this. And Aaron, a big part of the conversation in the last half hour or so, since we've been getting more information, is whether or not this was some kind of assassination attempt. What are you learning from your sources?
It appears to be.
While it's certainly not being confirmed as such yet, Whit, I can tell you that officials who've been briefed on the situation in Pennsylvania are telling us here that they are investigating this now as a possible assassination attempt. The sources told ABC News live rounds were apparently fired from outside the security perimeter, which may help explain some of the dynamics at play here. And we know that magnetometers were in place for the event. But it's believed, one of the angles of investigation now is that live rounds were possibly fired from outside the security perimeter, and that's where the investigation stands at the moment.
From outside the security perimeter.
Been to a lot of these different events, not just various political events from former President Trump, but also his court hearings in New York and the security measures that have been in place at each and every one of them. Talk more about the typical response and how law enforcement would prepare for an event like this.
The planning for these events is always evolving, and it is sometimes months, if not years.
He appears to be okay, Battle of Possum.
An event like a political convention or some kind of,
he holds up his fist multiple times. Here in just a second,
on a daily basis, and I know colleagues.
He's gonna give a fist bump.
The heightened threat environment and how that environment is dynamic. It's elevated ever since October 7th, and the political climate in the country has certainly made authorities.
There's the fist.
We don't.
And then before he gets into the motorcade,
factored into all of this, of course. So this is still very early.
He also gives like an Evil Knievel
as a possible assassination attempt. And the
silly thing is that the shooter missed.
Were fired apparently from outside the security perimeter.
Aaron Katursky, thank you. And once again to our viewers who may just be turning in, wondering what's going on here. This incident happening in
They took about 4 shots, we believe, Battle of Possum.
For former President Trump ahead of the Republican National Convention.
Here, since we have some new people that just got here, we're going to watch the raw footage.
And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
We speculated that the second set of shots, there was another one. The second set of shots may have came from law enforcement.
And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
There were 3 or 4 shots in the first initial flurry.
And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
As I said, cops have, or the Secret Service has snipers. So if they were outside of the perimeter, sure, it wouldn't be hard to get eyes on them.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
What's wild to me
Take a look at what happened.
is that his head's turned. So you've got to be like over on like the side here, don't you? Because like it grazed his ear going this way. Or could it have possibly come from this way? That's the raw footage from about an hour and a half ago.
Be shot by law enforcement because they're going to go to the shot, and there's going to be people. There's going to be snipers.
Came from Trump's right or our right,
and so they maybe just immediately beat it in on somebody. But to your question about where they're going to go from here, that's going to be the real key. Is this just some disgruntled guy that doesn't like the former president, or is he part of a group that
still no idea what a book depository is?
Could obviously spin into something else, but
apparently somewhat like a library.
Brad Garrett,
but more of a place to store books before they go to other libraries. I
do want to just forgive me. I'm going to bring you back for just a follow-up question on that exact point, whether they're looking to see if this was a lone actor, if others may have been involved, as I'm still getting information right now. But from the law enforcement perspective, one thing that I thought was interesting there, and we talked about this with John Carl earlier, is it's not just the Secret Service, right? You have multiple law enforcement agencies on the ground at these major events, and Secret Service takes the lead, but they're all working together. We saw some of them come up onto the stage in tactical gear and long guns. How do those partnerships play out in the minutes, the hours, and the days after an event of this magnitude?
So certainly during...
I know my stage directions. I was a theater kid.
Secret Service only have so many people, and they're going to
I showed the pictures.
Jurisdictions in, obviously, this case, the state of Pennsylvania. They will have practiced, trained prior to this event, and maybe because...
Well, it was yesterday.
A lot of rallies.
Somebody accused...
to cover all the different...
That I might have been a juggalo.
They're going to be the immediate...
In high school, I was not a juggalo. I was a theater kid.
Layer or two layers or
and a Republican
are going to be quite possibly other law enforcement agencies. And to my previous conversation with you, it may have been one of them that got to the shooter, or these two quote unquote bystanders. But that's the real key. Now, obviously, people reacted quickly. I'll say one other thing without
baseball is so painfully boring.
The shooter may have been some distance away, which is certainly fortunate for the former president. If he'd have been any closer, this would be a bigger tragic event, of course.
Juggalos were a thing.
But the whole key right now is this shooter.
Probably like first wave juggalos.
Absolutely. Brad Garrett for us. We appreciate it. I do want to go to Leonard Verdetto, who is an eyewitness who was there at the rally today. He's joining us now on the phone. Leonard, can you hear me?
Maximus, good evening.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Leonard. We're so grateful that you are okay. Can you just walk us through what happened?
Saying slurs in the chat.
Sure, absolutely. So everybody was excited to see the former president coming out. Yeah, we were all excited, and we were all happy. We were all joyful. We were all there for each other. And then the former president was giving his speech. Then moments later, there was some popping sounds that were going off. There were about maybe 6 or 7 to 8 shots that were happening. None of us really registered at the time, but then all people were saying, "Get down, get down." Even I was saying, "Get down." Other people were saying, "Get down" as well. And, we were all praying. We were praying to Yeshua, the Lord Jesus, and we were praying to him to keep us safe.
You got it absolutely correct, DeJarlis Dub,
someone did get shot.
David.
What I do hear is that I think 2 people did get shot, that to the best of my knowledge. And I believe that, the former president, which I'm glad he is safe. So.
Now, Leonard, and again, we don't have all these things confirmed yet, so this is your perspective here. But when you say that you believe that 2 people were shot, could you actually see potential victims?
Sexy Jesus.
What I seen, and to the best of my knowledge, sir, is that
I would say juggalos aren't a thing until the mid '90s.
Well, but what that
ICP was a thing.
There was blood on a couple of people. Someone
was like 89. Is that when they started?
Right behind us, to be honest with you. So we were that close, and thank God we weren't shot either.
And where were you located? We're looking at the video right now. This is the former president being brought back to his feet after those shots were fired.
Yeah, I would say the juggalos came to be in like the mid to late 90s.
Donald Trump, or were you in front of him?
If you're looking exactly at him, we'd be on the left side, actually. We were the left side of the other stands where you've seen those big TVs.
So the left side of the stands facing the president?
ICP meets the qualifications
facing the president,
to be in
looking on the side of the president. So
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And Leonard, let me just ask you too. Obviously, you go to we've been talking about this, the division in this country, the polarization. But here you are. Obviously, you're exercising your right to support whichever politician.
Were you here the other day when we had the whole conversation about what's on the oldies stations?
What's in your heart right now?
Well, what's in the heart right now is I'm encouraging the American people to pray.
It was like Disturbed is probably like Disturbed, Linkin Park, shit like that. That's probably what's on the oldie stations right now.
Being at the Trump rally.
Or on the classic rock
The
station.
reason why I'm supporting the former president is because of the policies that he had.
If you listen to oldies, you're probably going to get like
and everything like that.
60s, 70s, and 80s.
Stand for what he
An oldie station.
And I encourage the American people to pray to the Lord Jesus that we need to be united as a people. We need to repent, and we need to be healed as a nation, because right now our nation is not going down a good road.
Got a comment? Do you need a titty slap?
A titty slap!
Well, Leonard Verdetto, we are so thankful that you are okay and that you were able to make it out of there safe. Thank you again for your time. We truly appreciate it. I do want to bring in another witness who was there at this rally today, Robert Rosano. Robert,
if you're going to let somebody eat your ass.
Yes, sir, I can.
Walk me through what you saw, what you heard, and how close were you to the former president as these reported shots rang out?
We were, myself and a good buddy of mine, we were...
They've been playing Slayer on the kids' station before too long.
The former president. Former president was facing directly at us, and it was a good crowd. You know, everyone was pretty electric. It had been a long day.
It's electric.
You know, the heat was kicking in a little bit, but people were happy. You know, people were happy to see the former president speak and
speculate wildly.
To God Bless America, and the crowd was electric. And
it's electric.
You know, it was probably a good 10, 15 minutes into the speech that we started to hear what sounded like gunshots ring out. And we probably heard a good 3 or 4 gunshots that's
boogie, 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 boogie.
Of a smaller caliber, followed by 2 to 3
music,
powerful shots, which most folks assumed that.
I get if we got new people in the chat yet again. Good afternoon, welcome in. Trump has been shot, but he is okay. It basically grazed his ears. You can see there.
Situation, you know, you're in a fishbowl, you know, with the.
Flash, I sent you a friend request.
You don't know
from like my
you know, where the shots
actual Facebook,
who they're coming from, and it was a pretty traumatic situation, I think, for everybody. But
for me,
what we did see
from muffins
the shots was we saw the president hit the ground. We looked up to the top left-hand side of the stands that were right behind him, and you know, it looked like
I've never been to a Buc-ee's.
It looked like there was.
I don't want to go to a Buc-ee's. It seems very.
We also saw some law enforcement folks that had
not a sheet.
What looked like the body of an individual. Following that, President Trump he stood back.
I lived in Virginia, so I've been to a sheet.
Robert, are you still with me? I think we just lost Robert Rosano's connection there, but the account that he gave, pretty terrifying, considering that after
I feel bad. There are several people that try to get up with me through like Facebook or Instagram, and you'll get like my automated message
from several witnesses,
and then like I may see it
stands that several
days later
carried out. And again, the reports from the district attorney there in Pennsylvania telling us that at least one bystander was killed in this incident, perhaps a second, and that the shooter is dead. We're still waiting on.
We could be up to 3 fatalities
together, but I do want to bring in our chief global.
None of which were Trump.
Raditz, who's been following this, and Martha, you're getting more reaction tonight.
More reaction, and just in from former President Obama saying there's absolutely no place for political violence in our democracy, although we don't yet know exactly.
You're about to get a Buc-ee's in Phoenix?
Believed that former President Trump wasn't seriously hurt and used this.
Didn't know they went that far out.
Ourselves to civility and respect in our politics. Michelle and I are wishing him a quick recovery.
There's Jordan Klepper.
Reactions such as that, Whit, and everyone, of course, glued to the television watching this event play out over and over. I've been talking to people I know in the military who are trained in weapons, and they too said this was probably far away from President Trump, and yet clearly a very, very dangerous situation. If, in fact, he was grazed by a bullet, that would explain why others were injured and possibly killed as well. This colleague from the military, said that he believed they probably, listening to those sounds again and again, said the shooter probably got off a couple of rounds because we heard those sounds.
I highly recommend Vortex Burger in Atlanta.
Several of them, he said the shooter likely
world famous burgers
before he was then probably taken out by the Secret Service or whoever was outside that perimeter. But it's true. I mean, we've said this all afternoon. It is almost impossible to completely protect someone as hard as you try.
And Martha, what you're saying and what your sources are telling you lines up with what we've been hearing throughout the night, too, from the witnesses, that they heard several pops. It sounded like gunfire. The first couple.
Fruity Pebbles, call me. I will totally endorse Fruity Pebbles.
Afterwards,
JustinFREAKIN,
including Brad Garrett,
Fruity
law
Pebbles.
enforcement expert, also described
the number one cereal in the world. They do not make a better
exactly, and I think that is
cereal.
Likely what will play out. We obviously have
Fruity
a lot
Pebbles
to learn in the coming hours and the coming days.
And Justin will totally endorse Fruity Pebbles.
Former President Trump put his hand to his ear.
They're yabba dabba great. I don't even know. I don't know what the fucking commercials
to him, so that
for Fruity Pebbles are like. But I will accept a Fruity Pebbles sponsorship.
And that is a big
post cereal,
open area. People could
post cereal. What kind of cereal are you having?
And of course, we know there are long weapons out there.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Law enforcement tonight, they are
is
treating
my
this as
second
a
favorite
assassination
cereal.
attempt. Again, trying to get more information.
I haven't even opened it yet. You know what? I was thinking about it last night. I was like, God damn, I'm gonna have a bowl of cereal because I'm all stoned.
And I understand that you
Life is a decent cereal, but not in my. Probably not even in my top 5.
Is out with a statement, and he notes, of course, that he has been briefed on this.
I've had the French Toast Crunch. It's not as good as Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch
is just on another level.
I'm going to read
that was my favorite for the longest time, but now I gotta go with Fruity Pebbles. JustinFREAKIN
family, and for all
endorses Fruity Pebbles.
Await further information. The president.
I'm not hating on you. It's a perfectly fine cereal.
Safety, adding there's no place for this.
I got no problem with it.
In America.
But I just wanted. I like that somebody brought up that Fruity Pebbles is apparently advertising on my stream. I'll give them free advertising. I'm selling it. This is Justin's capitalist arc. I am selling out. I want to start endorsing the stream. Fruity Pebbles. I get high, and then I eat Fruity Pebbles.
Of course, baselessly,
these two things go together.
For this, noting, of course, that President Biden has put at the center of this campaign
like peanut butter and jelly
to democracy. But tonight, the statement from the president just now, of course, grateful that Donald Trump is safe and doing well, praying for him, and thankful, of course, for the Secret Service for getting him to safety.
All right, that statement from President Biden. Mary Bruce, thank you. I want to go back to John Santucci, our executive editorial producer. John, you've been in touch with Trump's family.
The eldest son of the former president. He tells ABC News when he has spoken to his father.
Which one, Eric?
A couple of moments described former President Trump as being in good spirits. He is still at the hospital, according to his son, and he told me with his father is, quote, never gonna stop. Now, obviously, this is the first time we've heard of the family being in touch with the former president, and as we've been reporting here on ABC with you for much of the last few hours, we know that many of the family was not with Donald Trump at this rally. Of course, some of them getting ready for the Republican convention starting Monday out in Milwaukee. Donald Trump Jr., of course, a frequent presence by his father's side, probably the most politically active of the Trump children in this state of affairs. Of course, his daughter Ivanka has not been on the trail. She was someone that went to the White House when Donald Trump took the presidency in 2017. But Donald Trump Jr. has been that fixture in Republican politics by his father's side, a very active fundraiser for his father, and of course someone that, you know, at a rally like this would have normally been there if not speaking with, alongside.
I was like, who the fuck is standing outside of my window? Oh yeah, I ordered groceries.
And now they have indeed made contact with their father, who, again, just to reiterate, ABC News has learned is, quote, in good spirits.
So here's what I gotta do. I gotta put Smokey up.
And John, forgive me if I didn't hear you earlier.
And I gotta go grab my groceries. Hold on.
President being in good spirits and he's doing fine.
I don't even know where Smokey is.
Are we getting any word yet on whether he was injured in any way in this incident?
So I asked Donald Trump Jr. His understanding when I spoke to him over the phone what happened. He said it remains unclear. You know, even the former president was not clear on exactly what happened. You know, Donald Trump Jr. and his siblings, I'm told from other sources, I did not ask Donald Trump Jr. this, but I know from multiple other sources, have been in touch with the Secret Service trying to get updates themselves as to what has happened. But as our team, I know you spoke to Aaron Katersky and others than Josh Margolin here at ABC News, it's an active investigation, still trying to understand what happened. Well, one thing Donald Trump Jr. did say to me when we were on the phone is that, you know, it was his father made a remark that it was a lot of blood, but again, not something, from my understanding of the conversation I had with the former president's eldest son, not something that was heightened alarm, if you will, right? As we reported a statement that came out from the Trump campaign that he was, quote, fine. When I had that conversation with Donald Trump Jr., which seemed to emphasize that things are okay, remaining under observation, a situation still unfolding as to what happened, but nevertheless, the former president okay, and again, according to his son, in good spirits.
John Santucci, our executive editorial producer, with word from the Trump family tonight. We are just coming up at the top of the hour. It is 8 p.m. in the East, 5 p.m. in the West. If you're just joining us right now, as if this campaign couldn't get more historic and unprecedented, what law enforcement officials are now investigating as a possible assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump. That is the moment you see in the video right there. All this playing out in Butler, Pennsylvania. This was a major campaign event that Donald Trump was hosting before the Republican National Convention was set to take place in Milwaukee this week. All eyes were on this rally as there was word that a
block of Sargento
would be made
extra
within the next
sharp
48
cheddar
hours or so, and many people were watching this to see
it's on sale for $2.99.
He was going to pick, and instead,
and you can't beat that.
Into the
you
rally,
can't get a better cheese for a better price.
What witnesses described as popping
there are better cheeses.
Saw the former president right there ducking down.
There are cheaper cheeses.
The podium. And then
but in terms of a cheese for $2.99
on him,
you cannot beat
sort of
a Sargento
as other
sharp cheddar
officers jump on the stage. You see them there with the long guns and the tactical gear, looking into the crowd. And then these remarkable
Sargento is my
president with what appears
lowest
to be
rung cheese I go to.
Being escorted off.
That's my baseline cheese.
Sargento
or better.
Pumping his fist as the crowd started cheering when they saw
there are other cheese.
The president then escorted into
Cabot cheese was also on sale, but not as cheap as it was like $3.69 for a block.
Telling us that the former president is doing fine, that he's okay.
This is a food stream with chaos in the background.
Never giving us any specifics as to whether or not he was.
If you're just joining us, Trump
what
got shot and I got cheese delivered.
Butler County there, Pennsylvania.
But for $2.99, you're not going to get a better deal on cheese and fucking extra sharp cheddar. I can do a million things with that.
And perhaps another. Witnesses that we've heard from tonight talking.
Or he made macaroni cheese. I got 3 blocks of it.
President and people being carried away.
I got 2 blocks the other day, and then I was like, well, might as well get another block while it's still on sale.
Multiple sources from law enforcement to tell us, whether the threat is over. That's unclear. But again, the source information that we're getting right now is that law enforcement is treating this as a potential assassination attempt against the former president until they get information that it wasn't. Let's go back to Rachel Scott, who's our senior congressional correspondent, also has been covering the campaign for us. Rachel was inside the arena during this event and while we were on the air for World News, and it was minutes later when she heard those shots ring out. Rachel, you've now been escorted outside.
Yeah, about 2 hours ago.
What are sources telling you now?
They're not on any.
Yeah, this is the scene that's happening right now. We were escorted
Ghost pepper cheddar. I'd totally give that a go.
Not far from where those shots rang out inside. I just want to show you right here. There's been so much conversation about the security. These white tents.
I like hot cheeses.
Where Trump supporters were screened by Secret Service.
I like all cheese. Don't get me started.
Events with the former president. You go through magnetometers. You go through metal detectors. Your bags are then searched. There are certain items like large bags that are prohibited from being entered into this facility. And
try to stay on topic.
Of these rallies.
Apparently, the
distance there. This is the
suspected shooter has been killed.
Inside the moment that this happened, we were on air with you live. Wit.
Oh, Gouda is amazing.
Then the former president took the stage within several minutes of the former president being on the stage.
That's my
these popping noises.
Gouda
after another,
cheddar,
after another.
blue cheese.
And then there were those screams. We heard screams from the crowd.
Two parts Gouda, 2 parts extra sharp cheddar.
Gunfire.
1 part blue cheese.
We, along with other.
That is your ideal cheese for macaroni and cheese.
Going below the riser, we covered ourselves, covered our heads. We watched as Trump supporters tilted out of their chairs, covered themselves as well, shielded themselves. We've talked to a number.
And I like to hit it with a shot of sriracha.
All she could do was just close her eyes and pray. She just said she was praying and praying,
totally
hoping that everything would be okay. Those screams went on. What felt like for several minutes. I know it was just only a matter of seconds, but
Gouda is Gouda.
Just sort of the frantic terror and the chaos that people were feeling in that moment, confused about what was going on. Initially, we did hear shots of gunfire and get down.
Oh, God damn it.
Know for sure. Then within just a few moments after that, we saw that image and we were there live. We witnessed it along with the former president's supporters who were in the crowd. The former president who was protected and shielded by Secret Service agents, who was knocked to the ground. They protected him. He then...
Oh, that's some kind of like carb-free shit or something, isn't it?
The crowd then cheered. Many people telling me they were relieved to see that the
no, because it's breadcrumbs. Why use the banana?
Escorted into his own vehicle and he was taken away immediately. Meanwhile, Whit, our eyes then went over to the bleachers. As you know, during these Trump rallies, the former president...
I don't understand your recipe, Tadpole.
All around him. He wants these to feel as intimate as possible, even though there are hundreds and hundreds of people there. So off over to the bleachers, what we then noticed were Secret Service...
I don't know if I would dig a banana with that, but then again, like applesauce and pork chops is like a common pairing, and like a banana is not far off from an applesauce.
Remained in that area. Law enforcement officials were telling everyone to still stay down to make sure they could get the situation under control. After several more moments, we did see law enforcement officials.
With the cheese recipe. Okay, that makes sense, Tadpole.
I did notice that there was blood on the bleachers on that side.
I'll give it a try.
Area. And then that was the moment where people started to clear out of that area. We saw law enforcement officials come out.
Looks like Smokey has the zoomies.
They started taping off the area. We continue to be live with you on the air, reporting what we saw and what we were learning in the moment. And then we saw Trump supporters start to file out one by one. Those crowds are very packed. And so many times you're not able to get cell phone reception because there's just so many people there. So this area right here started becoming a gathering place for a lot of Trump supporters, a place where they were calling their families.
Has any of us that have been to like concerts or sporting events and shit? No.
Trying to make sure that people were okay. And I want to bring in right now
service when you're trying to share it with
inside of this rally
10,000 other people, 15,000 other people.
And what did you hear?
We're seated right in the front there, a little bit to the left, about 6-7 rows back, and we were just standing up listening to Trump talk there, and we just heard like a bullet, and you just seen him like swipe his ear there, and then the next thing you know, you heard other bullets, and he fell. Then there was like probably like 3 or more shots, and then you just seen the crowd like just look over at the bleachers there, and then it just got crazy there. I mean, it was so scary, and I feel for all the innocent bystanders because there was some people that got hurt, innocent bystanders there. And we're just praying for them, make sure they're all right and that, and pray for Trump
What was your
Pray for Trump
reaction when you heard those popping sounds? We were inside as well. It was one right after another.
It sounded like someone set fire, like firecrackers off, like boom, 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 and then, you realize something's going on here, and then everybody just like hit the deck, and it was pretty scary, and there must have been a shooter on the outside of the perimeter, and he must have been shooting inside and hit some innocent bystanders. Because there was a big crane there.
Mr. Bong to you.
And there was a line there.
I don't think there's a bug.
The bullet got hit. The line got hit, and you can see all the fluid go out of the hydraulic
Maybe
line.
I just don't see
So
it.
we know there's so many unconfirmed reports.
For a Trump supporter, this dude does seem nice.
Investigation.
And then again, you see his shirt and his hat.
Feeling, standing here right now, this has been a very chaotic
We're
24 hours.
living in a scary time, though.
You didn't have enough time to get some beer in.
We definitely need more police, to patrol everything, and hopefully we'll get that with Trump coming in here. So everyone should get out there and vote for him,
And your reaction when you saw the former president after he was shielded by Secret Service agents? We did see him pop up.
Yeah.
He raised his fist. I heard the crowd cheering for him.
Yeah, he was looking for his shoes. He's like, "Where's my shoes?" But hopefully,
More police.
I think he's strong, and he'll come back and be ready for November.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Whit, I've been to almost every single campaign rally this election cycle, and this
Like
is
the Pope Mobile, you're gonna ride around a little
campaign rally
stupid
starts.
fucking.
There are lines with Trump supporters, hundreds of people lining up, waiting to get checked in. Secret Service screening them one by one as they enter in. There's always a sense of sort of joy and excitement from the former president's supporters who are eager to go inside and watch him. And now, hours after this rally here, this has turned into.
I feel like you guys might be more into that. I've seen nothing on that wall. I don't know what he's going after. I have not given him catnip in a little bit. He needs some. Maybe that's it. Possibly media winch. Maybe because of the sun setting. I'm just not seeing it from the angle I'm at. That's possible. I feel like the sun just went behind the mountains. Media babe indeed.
President Biden here, and he writes that I have been briefed on the shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well.
Wait, when was I on the Echo Blick shit list?
And for all
I was just on the other day.
Further information, Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it. A sentiment that we've been hearing from
I was on for Saturday.
of the aisle.
Not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before. 2 weeks ago tonight.
Our Chief Justice correspondent in Washington, who's been talking.
Oh yeah, I was banned from Twitch.
One thing that we have learned
in
recent moments is that they are treating this as a possible assassination attempt until they learn.
I do believe it was indeed an assassination
attempt.
attempt.
Moment. Period. Law enforcement officials said this will be treated as an assassination plot until it's not. The source also.
Oh man, I made some barbecue chicken.
Trump,
slow roasted the other
was
day.
still at a medical facility as a few moments ago.
I got some pizza crust. I make a barbecue chicken pizza. I didn't get any like crispy onions on top of it.
As of a few minutes ago, the president was still in a medical facility receiving treatment. The FBI is also now going to.
They usually have crispy onions.
Every effort will be.
But I ate all my. I had salad like multiple times last week.
This attempted shooter
like crispy onions, what I like
finding
on
out
top.
more about that person's background to make sure that this is confined to a single individual. We
like
just
a
don't know
crouton
yet.
too.
Law enforcement again.
I'll take a crispy onion over
now,
a crouton.
trying to get additional information so that security can be surged for the upcoming convention.
Ooh, hell yeah! Go for brisket. Why are you here with me?
Brief later
in the
evening about what took place here. But Whit, again, You have a former president of the United States.
What media winch? What is wrong with
candidate,
you?
soon to be nominated by his
My meat
party
cannot compare.
Their candidate. Someone attempting to apparently kill him. That is the feeling until they can prove that it's not the case. That is how law enforcement is operating in this moment.
Pierre Thomas Forrest, thank you so much. I do want to note we are awaiting word from President Biden. There is a podium that has been set up there that is Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. That's where President Biden was spending the weekend. We're told that we're about 2 minutes out from the president speaking tonight. Of course, he sent out that statement earlier, and we know that the president has been briefed by his staff and by the Secret Service. We're also learning that there's heightened alert across the country. We're getting reports.
It would be hilarious
sources
if he came out and talked about the assassination attempt on Kamala Harris.
Increase across New York City.
I would laugh my ass off.
The NYPD is increasing its presence across the city, including at Trump Tower, 40 Wall Street, Foley Square, and City Hall.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
No specific threat, though, in connection to New York at this time. Here comes President Biden. Let's listen.
All the agencies in the federal government as to the situation, based on what we know now. I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to him shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have engaged in making sure that the people who, and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all.
Oh,
God. The bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I am able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do, okay?
I feel like he don't want to talk to you.
I don't know enough to, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts. So I want to make sure we have all the facts before I make any more comments. Thank you.
Are you worried, President, with the security failing, Mr. President?
President Biden with that short statement there. Again, he's in Rehoboth, Delaware for the weekend.
He took one.
Released a statement earlier tonight, but coming out before the cameras right now on the microphone saying that there is no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. And on that political violence, he said everyone must condemn it. President Biden also said that he made a few attempts to try to reach former President Donald Trump, but was not able to, but said that he would like to be able to speak with him at some point when he's able. But again, President Biden reiterating what we've heard time and time again, the calls for calm, for people to condemn the violence, although we don't know much about what happened other than a few reports about a shooter who's been killed and a possible bystander and the shots fired.
That's something.
Again, all of this sort of playing out this evening in real time as we're getting information and these truly remarkable images that we saw on the screen as they played out. We were on World News Tonight right here on ABC as the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania got underway. And it started in high spirits as many people were anticipating and awaiting his pick for a possible running mate that was expected in the next 48 hours. So all eyes were on this event to see if Trump would hint to who that person might be. And it was a matter of minutes later when we heard those popping sounds, and we went back to Rachel Scott, who told us what happened as it occurred. You see the Secret Service there surrounding the former president, forming a human shield around him, them escorting him off the stage. And as the crowd started to realize that Trump was okay, there were cheers, and he pumped his fist in response before he was led away. Again, we're told that he was taken to a nearby medical center, that he received treatment, but that he is doing okay, that he is fine. His family in a statement calling it a heinous act, what has played out, but the details are still far and few. We only know the very little that we've been able to get from witnesses and from the Secret Service. We've got our entire team on this. John Carl, our chief Washington correspondent, is in Milwaukee because that was
the entire team on it. We're gangbanging the news coverage.
News in the Republican National Convention, and instead, John, everything is about to change after this incident.
What is the convention going to be like now?
Shockwaves throughout the political world. I was on the floor of the convention speaking with the Republican Party chairman, Michael Whatley, when this news broke. Saw him whisked away by an aide on the phone trying to figure out what was happening. And obviously, shockwaves not just here in Milwaukee, where the political world, at least the Republican part of the political world, is gathering for this convention that is set to kick off officially at 2 o'clock on Monday, but also over on the Democratic side. We are told, that the Biden campaign has paused all outbound communications, and they're working to pull down all of their political ads, effectively putting this intensely fought, heavily funded, very negative presidential campaign, at least for the moment.
Trump's probably already sent an email
of this.
Are you serious?
President Biden condemned what happened. I thought it was interesting to hear him
oh my God!
To President Trump, somebody he has clashed with as mightily as any two political figures in our history have clashed, calling him Donald and saying he tried to get a hold of Donald and he hopes to speak to him, and saying that we all have to condemn what happens, and that is what is happening. We are seeing statements from political leaders.
This is how you get fascism.
Not just
we're seeing it take place live in real time.
Investigated as an apparent political assassination attempt, but calling for calm and saying that political violence of any kind, certainly not like this, has no place in American politics. One of those briefs,
fucking clinically already gone over to the other side.
The Speaker of the House, third in line of presidential
watch it be somebody from the right that wanted to do some sort of, spark a race war or some shit
at a political campaign rally.
They were doing it for the good of the cause. We've lost ABC News. What the hell?
And I think quite movingly from a former congresswoman named Gabby Giffords, who herself was severely wounded in political violence at a campaign event of hers in Arizona. Gabby Giffords putting out a statement saying, "Political violence is terrifying. I know. I'm holding former President Trump and all those affected by today's indefensible act of violence in my heart. Political violence is un-American."
The Secret Service were the ones to neutralize the assailant.
A view that is being uniformly expressed across the political spectrum and obviously beyond the political world.
And obviously, John, something we also heard from the witnesses who were there tonight and witnessed this chaos and the bloodshed, asking for prayers, not only for former President Trump, but for the bystanders, or at least one who may have been killed in this incident. John, thank you. Stand by. We'll come back to you as the developments persist throughout the night. But I want to go back to Mary Bruce at the White House. Mary, just getting some more information before I come to you, because we're also told now that FBI personnel are on the scene in Butler, Pennsylvania. The FBI will work jointly with the U.S. Secret Service.
I keep saying that.
As the investigation
I'm not high enough for this.
And Mary, I just wanted to pick up with you on something that John noted too about Biden reaching out, trying to speak with former President Donald Trump. These are two men who do not speak to each other. I mean, they hardly even acknowledged each other in that debate a couple of weeks ago. So the president trying to reach out, the former president trying to at least, you know, give as much of a perception of unity in this moment of tragedy in America.
Yeah, and you heard with the president.
Trump has probably already sent out a campaign fundraising email
Where the country has to unite. You heard the president saying there is no place in America for this type of violence. And as John noted, yes, it is certainly unusual to hear President Biden refer to Donald Trump by his first name. And yes, we know that he tried to reach out to him. We don't know why he wasn't able to get a hold of him, but the president says he's going to continue to try. And this, you can't understate how much
Trump probably turned down his call.
Upended this campaign, this race, this moment that we are in America. We were just days away from the Republican National Convention. We have
starts on Monday. I was going to make the
divisive rhetoric in this country. We were where you were hearing, you know, as Joe Biden has been facing a lot of you know, doubts from those within his party about the future of his own candidacy in this race. He's been urged by others to take the fight to Donald Trump more forcefully, to outline more forcefully the case in this race. All of that now coming to a halt. The campaign announcing that they are trying to pull down. They are going to be pulling down their ads off of the airwaves. But this is a moment where instead of ramping up, you are having the campaigns hit the pause button completely. Now, what will that mean? How will that change this race? Will it change the way the two parties talk about each other going forward? Will it actually bring the country together? All huge questions and things that remain to be seen in the coming days. And just one more thing, Whit. I do think it was interesting. The president there was asked if he thought this was an assassination attempt. He said, I have an opinion, but I don't have any facts.
I mean, what else is it?
Many Americans are thinking right now.
Absolutely. Mary Bruce, thank you so much. I do want to bring in District Attorney Richard Goldinger from Butler County, Pennsylvania. Richard, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We've been reporting this information that you gave to some of our team here at ABC News about the shooter being dead and at least one bystander, possibly a second, also killed. What more can you tell us about this incident?
Well, I'm sorry to be talking to you under these circumstances, but yeah, I can confirm that the shooter is dead, and we have one spectator who did pass away as a result of this incident. The second individual that was removed from the scene is in what I would say serious condition. I don't know their condition at this point, but we do have at least two spectators that sustained injuries, or obviously the first one passed away from the shooter.
Forgive me, just to confirm, so the shooter is dead. You noted that, but earlier we reported possibly two spectators were killed. So now you're saying, just to clarify, one was shot and killed, another one sustained serious injuries. Their condition at this point, unknown?
That is correct, yes.
Do we know anything about this shooter?
At this point, no.
Is it a man?
I don't even know if it's male or female, to be honest with you. So
okay,
some sort of hoax right now.
Female was the shooter? Is it believed that the shooter was actually in the venue, or fired the shots from outside?
I can confirm the shooter was not within the venue. The shooter was on I
want to start a hoax that it was the Hot Tua girl.
And so they
tried to assassinate Trump.
Had to go through the security process of entering the rally and be subject to the search and everything.
Forgive me, I was just getting some information in my ear as you were speaking. So the shooter not in the venue, on the roof adjacent to the venue. So is it believed then that some of these other shots that we heard witnesses describe, that was law enforcement returning fire? Was it law enforcement who took the shooter out?
That I can't confirm.
That's a yes?
No, I can't confirm that.
Okay, so it's not clear how the shooter died.
Correct. At this point, we don't know. I don't know. How about that? I don't know at this point.
Fair enough. I understand. And forgive me, I know it's a fluid situation.
I can't imagine that a shooter would be able to get on a roof.
Extremely. Yes.
Richard, clinically, as I was talking about earlier.
General, this is
they've got snipers in all the major sniping
moment
points
in this country. I mean, not only do we have this act of political violence, we have bystanders, people out there just exercising their right to support.
The failure by the Secret
potentially
Service.
shot and killed. What are you feeling at this time?
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, first of all, I'm embarrassed for my community that this happened here. I am disgusted and sad that somebody actually
DA in Pennsylvania
as a result of this. And I mean, unfortunately, it appears to be just
they did a good job. It's the
microcosm, but
Secret Service is supposed to prevent this kind of
the
shit.
state of our country, where we are right now, and how divided we are, and somebody would resort to something like this to. Well, I don't know.
But the way the Secret Service reacted and the SWAT motherfuckers came out of the woodworks, that was good. That's what you want from
Biden. We need
that kind of a force.
We need to come together. We need to unite because of this. And I hope that maybe.
But it's amazing they let a sniper get in place.
Bad like this happening. Good.
A shooter get in place
after the fact.
They'd be able to take a shot at him.
Hope that could be the case, and perhaps
in the first
this country
place
could have a moment of unity in what has been a very divisive time, and only getting painful by the minute here as we get more details about what happened. I do want to ask you about the bystanders. Do we know any information about them, where they were seated during this event?
I don't have that information at this point.
That makes them look badass, doesn't it?
That they
get some sympathy
behind President Trump
from a clearly,
based on
political aspect,
the whole thing. But I don't know. I shouldn't.
That picture is going to be in textbooks.
Richard Goldinger, we truly appreciate you taking the time this evening, and we're wishing the very best. Our hearts go out to you and your entire community as you try to build back from this tragedy. Thank you again. I want to go to, let's go back to Martha Raddatz in Washington. Martha, I know that you've been talking to not only law enforcement sources, political sources, but also folks in the military who were describing what they heard with those gunshots. We got some more information from the district attorney there. The suspect who was shot and killed, and we're not sure how, we're careful to point that out, was on a rooftop adjacent to the venue.
I'm not sure if he was attending the Trump rally or he's just their source.
You're getting from your sources.
Because he's a DA.
He's away from President Trump, and that in the beginning, when I started talking to people who were familiar with weapons and who heard that gunfire on the tape, said they were certain it was probably a ways away from the actual venue outside the security zone, and it sounds like that was proven to be true. There were several shots you could hear, and they were very distinct. At least 2 or 3, possibly more shots, and we don't know yet whether we
really
were
want some of that cheese.
Not just the shooter, but those who then took out the shooter. But when I look at this video, and we've all looked at it over and over, and you see President Trump get up and put that fist in the air. We've now heard from his family. We now have heard that former President Trump is okay. But this is an incredibly sobering moment for former President Trump, for his family, and for the country. There is always a possibility something can go wrong. He is surrounded by security doing the best job they possibly can, the Secret Service, but these things can happen. And when he goes out there again, he is going to be thinking of this, whether he keeps that fist in the air, whether you can't keep him down. This is
I just want a normal election.
Back in 2016, just 4 days before the election back there, he was taken off the stage by Secret Service when someone shouted gun. There wasn't a gun. He was okay. Nothing happened.
Couldn't be doing
that, I mean, you can
patrol during Obama Mitt Romney.
Eyes, and they have a right to be afraid in something like this. I also think what we're going to have to see in the coming days, and we talk about this divided country. We talk about
if I'm going to have to get on here and broadcast this shit, I wish he was,
the motive actually was, where they come from, why they did this. This will be pivotal in how the country reacts, how former President Trump's supporters act. This is something we really have to keep our eyes on in the coming days.
And not to mention the serious questions about security. I know you and many of us have been to these Trump rallies before, and you go through so much security to get inside the venue, and the metal detectors, and they check your bags and everything. There are prohibited items
bag
you cannot bring inside. But to get this information from the DA now that the suspect was on top of a roof adjacent to the venue, that raises serious questions about whether something, a potential threat, was overlooked.
Well, I think, again, you cannot protect someone from everybody. There are ways to get to people. I think on the venue itself, obviously, and we've all been there, and they go through the magnetometer. But if you are a long way away and you have a weapon, I know certainly they have probably snipers positioned in certain places, but I've been to events too and think, oh, wow, look at that building over there. Someone could get up there. I hope they have somebody there. They are not in every single spot at every single rally, and that's what people take advantage of. I mean, I think the Secret Service would be the first to say we do our absolute best, we lock down what we can, but people keep trying, and they keep trying to get in. But we will learn more on that too. Any kind of investigation going forward, which will take weeks, months, probably years, how this happened.
Yes, this is just the very beginning. Martha Raddatz, thank you so much.
I hope we get some indication of what
another witness here,
who the shooter was and what their MO might have been.
Stephen, if you can hear me, I understand you were only about 100 feet away from the former president. Describe what you saw and what you heard.
About 100 feet away from him, you know, could see his face. He was right there talking.
That could be something that we have to wait until tomorrow.
You know, you heard one shot, two shot.
Toads, welcome.
You know, bang, nothing
Trump
crazy.
Shot at a rally earlier today. He is okay.
Everyone got quiet, started panicking.
It was just a flesh wound for real.
I guess Secret Service jumped on top of him and shielded him, but you know, as soon as everyone in the crowd figured out what was going on, we all ducked. And
at least one bystander has died. Another one,
you know, and
unknown condition.
No what was going on? You know, you're
shooter
shocked. You're shook, and you know,
apparently shot by law enforcement.
We were trying
on
to decide
roof.
if we wanted to get up and run, and we had really no idea what to do. And next thing you know, you see
outside of the venue
bullets, or you hear bullets flying, and I believe a bullet hit the like hydraulic lift that was holding up the speakers, and that thing almost collapsed. There was hydraulic fluid and water spitting everywhere all over the crowd. And then before you know it, everyone just gets up and starts running. But
and
Trump
Stephen,
did
Oh, forgive me. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a delay, but on that note about everybody getting up and running, we're actually showing video that you shot on your cell phone. And this is the moment with people running out of the venue. Describe what that was like, and when were you actually able to get out?
It was pretty stressful. You know, I'm looking around trying to make sure all my buddies who came with me were with me. And, you know, it took probably a good 10 minutes to get out of there, to get out of the whole area. And, you know, before you know it, there's ATVs and UTVs flying and ambulances and all that kind of stuff. And we're trying to figure out how to get out of there and get home. But you know, we made it. And when we walked out to the road, they had, you know, police blocking everything off, and we actually found out where the building was that the shooter was shooting from. They had it all taped off. I guess it was like an agricultural warehouse, something like that. So, you know, it was pretty scary. It's like you're in the movies.
Stephen, forgive me again. I'm sorry. There's a little bit of a delay with the connection, but did you say that you were able to see the building that the shooter was allegedly perched on top of here? You said it was taped off by law enforcement. What did it look like?
It was like kind of like an airplane hangar, maybe, you know, like a warehouse for agricultural equipment, I guess. ARC, AGC, something like that on the side. But once we were out, maybe 30, 40 minutes after, you know, they were taping it off, investigating it. They had the dogs going and all that stuff. But you know, there was traffic jams everywhere. It was kind of hard to.
How far away was that area from where the former president was standing?
Maybe 300, 400 yards, maybe less, honestly.
And Stephen, when you hear that people who were there in the crowd with you, other bystanders, at least one, maybe more, were killed, how does that make you feel?
Honestly, still kind of numb to it. You know, it's hard to process all this. You know, your heart rate is through the roof, but best wishes for their family, and they were supporting the country that they love. And in the meantime, it's definitely sad, and it's heartbreaking, honestly.
And Stephen, we've been hearing from people on both sides of the aisle, Republicans, Democrats, independent candidate, RFK Jr., and all with the same sentiment, condemning political violence, saying there's no place in this country for something like this. And I just wonder, from your perspective too, you're out there, you're exercising your right to support a candidate. What message do you have for people out there? Because the country is at this political boiling point. There's so much division and anger and hatred right now from one side and the other. What would you like to tell people?
At the end of the day, whether you're on the left, the right, the center, or you don't believe.
Yeah, it appears to got him in the top of the ear.
We all still put our pants on in the morning. We all breathe the air and go to work, and a lot of these issues, in 10 years, no one even thinks about them or cares about them. So we're all people at the end of the day, and, it's not worth taking someone's life over political beliefs or whatever. It's just senseless.
Well, Stephen, I think many people would agree with those words. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing that video, and we're so glad and thankful that you and the people you were there with are doing okay. Thanks again.
Of course, and as Kelly Clarkson says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
What?
Well, let's hope that's what happens in this country from here forward.
You gotta drop some Kelly Clarkson lyrics on us? What the fuck?
Closer and closer to Election Day. Stephen, thank you again. Let's go back to Rachel Scott. I believe she's still there in Pennsylvania. She was at this event, and Rachel, you've been speaking with witnesses, and who are you with right now?
Yeah, I'm with a woman named Erin. You were in the very first row in the middle seat, you told me. What did you see? What did you witness?
I was in the first row, and I was in the middle. I was directly in front of President Trump.
He just said that.
So I saw him come on the stage, and it was maybe about 3 or 4 minutes. Everybody, all the photographers saw him come in. They all cleared away. He started speaking, and then we heard pound, pound, pop, pop, pop. In everybody's mind, it was like 4th of July. Somebody must have been still doing firecrackers. Then I saw the 4 Secret Service jump up and immediately push him to the ground. Then the news people that were around him, they all fell to the ground. There was 4 of them down there, and then we all stood up. None of us moved. We wanted to protect President Trump. Sorry, helicopter's landing. Then I saw the gentlemen who wear the guns in the black. They came on and they said, okay, clear right, clear left. On 3, we're going to lift them. So they lifted President Trump up, and he said, I got to get my shoes.
What?
His shoes must have fallen off when they pushed him down. I saw the red blood on his right cheek. Then when he turned, I saw the ear from the top to the bottom with red.
Erin, I'm just going to have the camera turn really quickly because we are seeing a helicopter landing. For everyone that is watching at home, this is obviously still an active crime scene where we are all standing right now. We are just yards away from where this rally was taking place. We're seeing a helicopter touchdown. We've obviously seen more and more police presence in the last hour following these events that occurred. And there are still supporters that are still trying to leave this area. You are one of them. There were hundreds of people here, and so the parking lots were very full. There was a line to get out, and so there's a little bit of a traffic jam also as well. So you described those moments. You heard the pop, pop, pop. Everyone went down for cover. How are you feeling? How are you processing this?
Well, everybody in the first row, nobody went down to the ground. They all stood up. They wanted to protect the president. All we were concerned about was him. And then kind of the Secret Service, when he got up and got into the vehicle, they told us to sit and stay seated because there was things going on. And from what I hear, there was possibly 2 shooters.
You'd give her life for him.
That has a picture of one of the shooters that was rolled off of a building. And he was shot by the sharpshooters that were behind Trump. And I saw a gentleman leave from the left stands, and he had red blood all down his shirt. He wasn't hit, but I think he was around somebody who was. So just picking up little bits of things. We're all in shock because we never expected this. I mean, it's a beautiful rally, a beautiful night. I don't know. If no one's ever been to a Trump rally, it's very congenial. People look out for each other. It just seems like there's you don't see any fights, and you don't see
blow each other.
You don't see too much. They're all pretty much focused on the president. And then with this to happen, it's just stressful. It's just sad. Very sad.
This is an open fairground where we are standing here. It was a very hot day. People were coming in with their water bottles. As you said, there was this sense of sort of joy, excitement to see the former president. All of this unfolded within minutes of him taking the stage.
I don't think it was 3 to 4 minutes, I would say. He hardly got a chance to do his, waving at everybody and welcome and maybe a couple words on the teleprompter. But some people tell me that they think one of the shots hit the teleprompter and that could have made him with the cheek.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of unconfirmed reports still out there. We're also sorting through this.
He did leave the stage on his own.
So it's possible that a shot did not even hit him. Just shrapnel
Stay strong.
hit his ear.
Kind of turned like he was exiting. He was making sure that all those people like us that were standing up knew that he was okay.
Well, we so appreciate you taking the time, and I know you were waiting to clear out from this area as well.
Everybody's just praying for our president. That's how everybody is here. So thank you.
We're so happy that you are safe. Please get home safe. Again, that is just one of the many witnesses that we've been talking to here that are leaving these fairgrounds now after this incident occurred. As you can tell,
Steve is up there getting all kinds of prayers for and against.
Been replaying those events in our minds for what we all heard, that sound of the pop, 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 people rushing, taking cover, seeing the former president being rushed off the stage, and then ultimately all of us being rushed out of this area. Many members that were inside, many of the Trump supporters are still waiting to leave here with.
Yeah, you get the sense as we've been talking to them one after another, many still in shock. I mean, how do you process such a thing, right? Something you don't expect like this act of violence. Rachel Scott Forrest, once again, thank you so much. I do want to bring in John David Longo, the mayor of Slippery Rock, who was with President Trump right before the rally. Mayor, if you can hear me, where were you when the shots rang out?
I was just left of the stage, sir. So to the right of the president, I was front row there, right on the barrier when the shots rang out, and still trying to piece that together. I heard those sounds, and
it would take a little bit to convince me that this was some sort of false flag.
It might have been a firecracker.
This is planned by the campaign.
The second one, my ears recognized the sound, and it's just a very sad situation to be in.
I'm an Occam's razor kind of guy, and there's plenty of hatred. There's plenty enough floating around up there. Trump's own rhetoric.
Staying still and out of the way so that our law enforcement
to animate someone to try to do this.
Could understand the situation while I also was scanning because we weren't quite sure exactly at that time where the fire was coming from.
And forgive me, Mayor, I couldn't hear you for a second. Did you say that as you were hearing the gunshots and everybody dove to the ground, that you dove down and tried to
cover? What a horrible way to die, though. I died at a Trump rally.
Cover up my pregnant wife. We just found out we were expecting a few weeks ago, and I came here with her and my family today to come and bring them to hear President Trump speak. And my wife and I were blessed enough to be able to meet the president.
Dragon God, what's up,
we took the stage and had a pleasant conversation with him, and it was all smiles. And of course, that was stolen from us when this maniac decided to do what he did. And unfortunately, somebody in the bleachers right behind us.
As I said, it's probably
this monster.
Right now, it's 50-50 whether this is a.
What's your reaction to that? To learn
a lefty
at least one person
nut job, or if this is a right-wing nut job
at the same rally that you were attending.
It's sad does not describe, what that feeling is. This individual came here likely with a smile on their face, looking for hope and inspiration, looking to hear from President Trump in a place that is deep.
I don't feel like anybody goes to a Trump rally for hope and inspiration.
He did not get to leave here today with his life, and now his loved ones are probably wondering just how it is that something like this could have been possible.
Mayor John David Longo from Slippery Rock, thank you so much for your time, and we're thankful that you and your family are okay tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's turn now to Paul Eckloff, former Secret Service for both former President Trump and for Obama. Paul, talk to me about this investigation as it stands now. Obviously, we've had reports that the Secret Service, other law enforcement agencies are treating this as an attempted assassination unless they hear otherwise. How is an investigation like this pursued from here on?
Yes, sir. These cases are exactly what the Secret Service trains day in and day out for. Unfortunately, it puts into sharp focus that the Secret Service as we know it today exists due to a history of political violence in this country.
And then you've got to, like, how are you going to get in there to place it?
But the peaceful transfer of power. In this case, the Secret Service prepares for these contingencies by having agents in place for crime scene prevention. And they perform what's known as an interim federal presence before the FBI conducts the actual investigation on an assassination attempt.
Paul, thank you so much. Forgive me. Stand by for a moment because we're just getting new information right now. I want to go back to John Carl in Milwaukee. John, you're learning more from Trump himself.
What?
From Donald Trump. I'm going to read it to you in its entirety, Whit. I want to thank the United States Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response on the shooting that just took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Most importantly, I want to extend my condolences to the family of the person at the rally who was killed and also to the family of another person that was badly injured.
It was written by the campaign.
It's incredible that such an act can take place in our country. Nothing is known. This is Donald Trump saying nothing is known at the time about the shooter who is now dead. And here's key new information in this statement from Donald Trump. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place. So I realized what was happening, and then he ends it, God bless America. So a statement from Donald Trump that he has posted on social media.
On behalf of Donald
saying, that he was shot in the right ear by one of the bullets as they went by, much bleeding, and expressing his condolences to somebody at the rally who was killed, another person that was injured. That statement from Donald Trump.
And now, John, as you've been with us for hours now, it's the puzzle pieces are starting to come together, at least in terms of the event today.
I know the pieces
we don't have the who and the why yet, but we're starting to get the how and how this all played out tonight, because we saw earlier those images of the former president with the blood trickling down the right side of his face. We saw him flinching as he was speaking when the shots first rang out, and then reaching for his.
He got Holyfield.
Now that confirmation from the former president
Holyfield did.
And John, I know that politics isn't really at the center of the conversation in this moment, but I can't help but just point out that you're standing in Milwaukee, at
the
what is supposed to be the
Republican National Convention
this week. Major events that were supposed to take place.
Starts on Monday.
How do you expect that not only the Trump campaign, but
Trump announcing VP
will then respond to all of this? What did the next few days and weeks look like on the campaign trail?
I mean, what we're seeing immediately is a pause to the political, to this very heightened stage of this campaign. The Biden campaign has said that they have they've closed off all outbound communication. They're attempting to take down their television advertising across the country right now. We've seen statements come in from across the political spectrum. Former presidents, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, the current president, Joe Biden, who we've heard from both in a statement and in a live statement to the country, condemning what has happened, offering their well wishes, prayers for Donald Trump and for those who were at his rally. We're seeing this from people who are Trump's allies, from those who are adamantly opposed to him. But there's something else we're seing that I have to say. We're already seeing.
We call everybody schmicks now. You're a schmick.
Very divisive rhetoric in an attempt to politicize what has been
it could go either way
by everybody. You have seen some of the president's allies suggest that Joe Biden himself bears responsibility because of the rhetoric that we've seen in this campaign. We saw a statement to that extent coming from J.D. Vance, one of those who's waiting right now to find out if he's going to be Donald Trump's running mate. We've seen a member of Congress say much the same, except directly pinning the blame on President Biden. So for now, across the political spectrum, a pause, universal condemnation, but the early indications are that
I don't know what
long. It could get ugly
you're
very soon.
talking
It should be a
about.
moment where the country.
But also, like, as a comedian, I'll go ahead and tell you, there's a thing where, like,
that we have seen
some jokes are so obvious, a lot of people come to the same conclusion.
Dangerous.
They didn't actually steal your joke.
Death threats have become a matter of due course for political figures.
I learned this because I have a joke about Trojan condoms.
Before this campaign,
and apparently, every hack comedian has a joke about Trojan condoms.
Make it clear that violence has absolutely no place in.
See, there's that aggro again.
But I think what you're also going to see is, while this campaign is, for the moment, in a state of shock and pause, it's a campaign that seems like it is very well going to come back with a vengeance.
And on that point, this is going to be a huge test, no matter how you slice it in this country. Is this going to be a moment of unity at some point? Or is this a moment when people just
thank you for gracing us with your presence,
and start throwing rocks at each other
here.
again? That is going to be a major test for this country, to wait and see what happens in the days to come. John Carl, for us, thank you so much for that. On that note, we have Rick Klein, our political director for ABC News, and our D.C. bureau chief joining us right now on camera. And Rick, pick up on some of these notes that we're getting from John Carl and just some of the reaction that you're getting.
Oh, DJ Dub was commenting on the news that's going on.
Yeah, just in the immediate term.
Not the wild shit going on in the chat.
The balloons are literally up in the rafters. There's a festive atmosphere that was here in Milwaukee just a few hours ago. All of that, needless to say, is gone. There are social events that have been canceled for tonight. No convention business as of now has been impacted. No changes to the convention that's set to start on Monday. But it has definitely changed the mood, the tone, the tenor of the campaign. The news from the Biden campaign that they have pulled all of their advertising and paused their campaign communication. And as John referenced, some very ugly things that are being said just in terms of statements right now. A lot of accusations going about and a lot of heated rhetoric even at this time that has kind of chilled politics overall.
Rick, let me ask you this, because obviously law enforcement across the country, they're going to be on heightened alert. There's going to be more security at all of these events. And I know you're there in Milwaukee. All the infrastructure is in place. What are the chances they cancel this event altogether, the convention? Is that a possibility? I mean, they have a lot to get in line within the next 24 plus hours.
I've been told that that's not under consideration right now.
You're not the head mod.
Campaign and from the host committee of the convention are all around planning to go ahead.
Coming in here declaring yourself the head mod.
It's very possible that things change. The security around a convention is intense. Which, as you know, is very, very difficult to get anywhere near an arena. There are multiple checkpoints, metal detectors. It's much harder than just going through airport security. There are a lot of layers.
Yeah, I guess technically I'm the head mod.
Security at events from presidential candidates, and the lapse or apparent lapse that occurred in Pennsylvania today is definitely going to impact the way that things are planned here. And if
which makes a good point.
I would predict that Milwaukee's going to be something of a fortress. It's going to be very difficult to go or do anywhere, and everyone will be on an extra set of alerts, maybe rightfully so. I also think that people are going to be looking at this event in a much different light. I think the images and the words coming out from the former president about the importance of standing strong at this moment are powerful ones. I've heard from a couple of delegates already who've just said they've been impressed by the way that Trump and his team
getting encouragement from the other side of the ad.
Changes the nature of a convention, even though the convention itself, as of now, is set to start in less than 48 hours.
We don't. Nobody rules over us. We get authority in the ball.
Correspondent Aaron, you're getting more information, details about the shooting itself.
Secret Service just a moment ago put out a statement saying that during the Trump campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, at approximately 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time, a suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. The Secret Service personnel neutralized the shooter, who is now deceased. The Secret Service, the statement says, quickly responded with protective measures, and former President Trump is safe. One spectator was killed, 2 spectators were critically injured, and the incident is under investigation. That's an official statement from the U.S. Secret Service. Law enforcement sources would tell ABC News the shooter was at a distance of 200 to 300 yards away in an elevated position. He was on a rooftop adjacent to the venue, and those same law enforcement sources are telling ABC News he fired as many as 8 rounds from an AR-15 style rifle.
And Aaron, this information that you bring us also lines up with what we've been hearing from witnesses. Many of those who were fleeing the venue itself, talking about a separate location, a rooftop that was then taped off with caution tape. The law enforcement dogs were searching the area. So again, as we've been on the air now for a number of hours, it's sort of this drip, drip, drip of information. But I wanted to pick up, Aaron, with a question that I was thinking about when Rick Klein was talking there from Milwaukee. Because even though, and you know this because you've done so much reporting about the heightened threat level across this country and the warnings that law enforcement have had about the threat of political violence, in this situation where they're treating it as a potential assassination attempt, law enforcement across the country must just be scrambling to sort of change their protocol.
I feel like we know it was for sure an assassination
any sort of massive event, especially as it pertains to any political venue.
Well, the political venues are usually come upon quite quickly. The campaigns will choose them. The Secret Service will do some kind of a security assessment and do what they think they need to do to keep the protectee, in this case, former President Trump, safe. Now, they undoubtedly would have accounted for nearby rooftops. We'll wait to see whether this individual, this shooter who is now dead, was in position beforehand, or whether may have tried to access the rooftop while in full view of others, and how police and the Secret Service may have reacted to that.
Intentional grazing
is certainly going to have an impact on
maybe it's not an assassination.
Police and the Secret Service go about securing these venues in the future, especially at a time when the threat environment in the country is so complicated. All the more so by the rather heated political environment we're in now, just months before the next
and all the guns.
election.
And Aaron, another thing that you've reported on in the past, and I think it's worth noting here, because we don't
forget, we got a shit ton of guns.
Who this shooter was. So that information is still to come. But regardless of whether that specific threat was neutralized, right, if it was one shooter or if there are other people who could have been involved, regardless of that fact, Aaron, you often talk about the threat of a lone wolf who could be inspired by an event. And so law enforcement has to be looking at this and also saying, okay, well, it's one thing to foil a potential plot. It's another thing if you've got somebody with a grudge who's motivated by what they saw on TV.
And I think any law enforcement official would tell you those are notoriously difficult to detect and to stop, because there is almost no warning. And
there's probably a mass shooting going on right now.
Intelligence bulletins do we see where
this is apparently a mass shooting, 4 people hit.
Significant threat, somebody who is willing.
Probably another one going on right now.
In this case, we believe an AR-15 style rifle, and willing to do so without any apparent warning. So right now, the authorities no doubt know who the shooter is. They've undoubtedly identified the person by now and are going through social media, talking to
that's what I want to know.
Acquaintances, relatives, friends, anyone they can find to give them a sense of what the motive might have been. But the stark reality is that a lone actor who is willing to use a gun is very, very difficult to detect and to stop.
Aaron Katursky, thank you so much. As we come up on the top of the hour here at 9 p.m. in the East, I'm Whit Johnson in New York, and if you're just joining
Wait a minute, do you know about the deaf people coming after me?
Shooting at a campaign rally,
trying to get me fired from the TV station?
Pennsylvania.
Is that what you're referencing?
In the right ear, but we're told by his campaign, by his family, that he's doing fine. Authorities say the shots were fired from a rooftop adjacent to the venue, some 200 to 300 yards away. 8 rounds fired from an AR-style rifle. That information just reported by our Aaron Katursky. And the shooter was neutralized by the Secret Service.
It was an okay-ish shot, Kilroy.
A second person, a bystander, is also dead.
Someone in the crowd speculated they hit the teleprompter, and the teleprompter
incident is being investigated
shrapnel
now as
is
a
what hit Donald
assassination
Trump.
attempt. The former president's son, Don Jr., says his father is under observation at the hospital and in good spirits. President Biden tonight coming before the cameras, condemning the incident, saying there's
someone in Ghost in the Shell had A deaf person tried to get them fired because they
thanking the Secret Service and law
said that deaf
enforcement
people
for
don't
their
like to be
rapid
called
response,
mute.
describing the incident, saying he heard a
I've seen a lot of Bud Dwyer jokes lately.
And President Biden, as we also noted, they're coming before the cameras. He was condemning the violence, saying all federal agencies are now engaged. He also tried to reach out to the former president personally to speak with him tonight. The incident all playing out before the cameras. The horrific moment here, the loud noises popping, the former president appearing to grab his right ear in that moment. Secret Service agents then rushing the stage, protecting him with their bodies like a human shield. Those anxious moments as everyone was waiting to see if Trump was okay.
This is the shocking moment. Chaos erupted at Donald Trump's rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
You can hear several pops and see the former president grabbing his ear, ducking for cover behind the podium.
Well, Trump said he was shot in the
Service
ear.
agents rushing the stage, surrounding Trump, shielding him, taking him down to the ground. The screaming crowd looking on in horror. A short time later, agents carefully lifting the former president up.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold that in your head.
Let me get my shoes.
Blood clearly seen on his face, Trump pumping his fist. Agents whisking the former president off the stage, down the stairs to a waiting armored SUV.
God, that crowd went fucking nuts.
We heard what we appeared to be gunfire coming. The former president was rushed off the stage. Right now, we're at Secret Service. He's being escorted into his vehicle. This was a chaotic
Quesadilla, you may be right.
right here in Pennsylvania. People running and rushing to the ground as they heard those apparent shots fired.
Tonight, the Trump campaign releasing a statement saying the former president is fine and being checked out at a local medical facility.
Yeah, well, a bunch of deaf people tried to get me fired from a TV
They
station.
entered that tent right there to be screened by Secret Service, going through metal detectors, their belongings detected. Now this is the space where you have
Because deaf people don't like being called
and
mute.
confused as Secret Service agents rush us out of this area.
I didn't call a deaf person a mute
Tonight, the
person.
crowd still in disbelief. Tell me what you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the
The
popping.
story was about a person who was nonverbal, and the news station called them mute.
Get down. We got down, and we huddled, and we started praying.
Tonight, local officials telling ABC News those sounds were in fact gunshots, live rounds fired from outside the security perimeter. This is being investigated as an attempted assassination. And tonight, the local district attorney telling ABC News at least one person is dead and the shooter is dead as well. Tonight, President Biden addressing the nation.
I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors.
That's what I kept saying. I was like, it was germane to the story. The cops shot him because he didn't respond to command.
Back to the,
and I'm like, well, what is the headline supposed to refer to him as?
Place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's
like,
sick.
deaf people don't like being called mute.
We have to unite this country.
I was like, well, I've never heard a mute person say that.
To be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
You're being too insensitive. Deaf people don't like being called mute. And I said, but what about mute people? They have a voice in the matter.
Heard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it.
Those words from President Biden tonight.
They found out where I worked.
Damn it, something that we've been hearing from.
They messaged the news director. She had to have a whole conversation with me. She's like, I understand what you were saying.
Since the beginning tonight.
No big deal. Just don't respond to them.
News as the rally.
I said, well, what about my jokes? Were they funny?
Been getting these horrific.
And she kind of gave me like a weird look. I was like, oh, are you saying they fell on deaf ears?
Yeah, we're with another group of witnesses that saw what happened. I will tell you, hours ago, this area right here was filled with Trump supporters, eager, waiting to go inside of that rally. Right now, tonight, this is an area where Trump supporters are gathering. They're left with shock about what happened. Tell me what you saw inside.
Yeah, I was just about like 30 feet from Trump, and then I saw the people that had been shot, and they were bringing them down in a stand above me, and I just didn't want to get down. I just kept standing. But I saw, I saw the man that was hit in the head, and there was a lot of blood, and I knew there was no way he was going to survive that. And then there were two of them that they brought down, but it was like real chaos and chaotic, but I didn't get down, and so it was very interesting. We were just right there, about 40.
What was going through your mind as you saw that person with tons of blood on them?
Yeah, at first I was thinking, I thought different thoughts, like maybe this was the shooter and then he committed suicide, or maybe someone shot him. That's what my first thoughts were. I didn't think about just like someone that was in the stands. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And now knowing that this is someone that was in the stands, how are you processing this?
No, I think we're all in shock. Yeah, we're numb that this happened.
Can I say, when I heard this going on, I thought it was a firecracker. Just like with Kennedy, people thought it was a firecracker. And I looked, we were 20 yards away from Trump, and then we were 20 yards away from where I thought it was a firecracker. But then now I'm thinking maybe those were bullets that were going over our head. Yeah. And then they were saying, get down, get down, get down. I just wasn't processing. It took me like 2 minutes, and I finally hit the deck. But I think it's just like you're in shock. And how did the guy get the gun in there? How did he get the gun?
He apparently wasn't in there.
Well, let me ask you this, because is this your first Trump rally?
No.
No. So
Of course not.
I've heard a number of Trump rallies. I've been to every single
look at
Trump
the
rally
men.
this cycle. You've been to a number as well. You're fully aware of the security precautions. Trump supporters, as they're making their way in, they have to go through magnetometers. Your bags are searched. Your pockets are searched as well. And so any area where you're around the former president, there is a sense of safety. Yeah. And so to have this occur, what was going through your mind as you heard gunfire, get down, get down?
I think first I was in shock, but I do think I'm drawn to some
Oh, man, yeah, all the right-wingers.
Secret Service. I passed everything, but then they said, take your glasses off. That was the end of it. So my whole life would have been changed, but I couldn't see. But I guess I like to be where the action is in some ways. So, but I mean, not this, obviously this is just horrible, just horrifying. But
Trump survived. That's good. It would have been horrible news, worse news if he had been killed. So that's good. At least we had that. But yeah, we're all in shock, and it's really something. I just got done saying every generation thinks, well, we're past that. We're not going to have any more assassination attempts, and then you have something else, and maybe that's really hard to stop.
I thought it was firecrackers.
Yeah, you thought it was firecrackers. Yeah, I mean, so many people did. Initially, when that first happened, there was a lot of confusion for everyone that was inside of that fairground near. We heard the pop, 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 pop sounds. We heard shouts of gunfire, but we did not know for sure. We were just all told to get down. And then from my understanding, it was also law enforcement that told you all to just stay down, even though the former president was already escorted, to make sure that they had the situation under control.
Almost like they both used gunpowder.
Stay down, but then curiosity overcame me. After about 5 minutes, I stood up, and there were like 6 or 7 men with AR-15s or whatever, whether they AK-47s or AR-15s, and they were just like hawks. They were looking around, staring at everybody, and their guns ready, and one guy looked kind of nervous.
I really would like to
kept thinking that we're going to be a part of history here.
Find out about the shooter.
But it's just
it's
horrible.
That guy that was
Political
shot,
persuasion.
there was so much blood and things. So he was right above me, so I thought, oh, there's no way he survived that. But yeah, what a day.
A hard thing to witness.
What a day,
I
indeed.
appreciate you all taking the time to speak with me, and I'm glad that all of you are safe. Please get home safe. Again, with just this sense of disbelief, trying to process, replaying those events over and over in your head. That's what everyone here that was inside of that Trump rally is still having to contend with as they process the
WWE Hall of Famer Nose Hill's getting shot.
They witnessed inside.
Yeah, he did.
And I can't help but think there's going to be a lot of trauma after this event for all of those witnesses who were there, watched this unfold before their very eyes, and also knowing that one of their fellow supporters, somebody who was just there, part of the rally, at least one person lost their life today. Rachel Scott, and to you, we can't thank you enough for all your reporting throughout the evening. Stand by, we'll come back to you if news develops. But let's bring in John Cohen tonight, ABC News contributor, former FBI. John, there are so many questions about what happens now with this investigation. Take us through this process. Where do they begin?
Well, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to identify the suspect. They're going to try to determine by evaluating their...
The dude that I thought looked like Carlos Santana is apparently the guy that QAnon believes is JFK Jr. in disguise.
Or whether it was part of a broader conspiracy. They're also going to be looking for any type of follow-on events. Part of the danger in a situation like this is that people may view this as either an act to be replicated.
Don Jr. was like, all Americans are Trump supporters today.
Is going
I don't
to
think
be
that's true.
looking at trying to prevent any residual events following this incident.
John, thank you very much. And we do know that the FBI is joining the Secret Service in this investigation. Let's go back to Martha Raddatz. Martha, you've been talking to sources, also military sources, and you have some new information, what you're learning about the weapon.
Well, we know from our own reporting from Aaron Katursky and others here at ABC that they believe it was an AR-15 and that the shooter got off 8 rounds.
New York Times.
Talking to a military source who said
picture
it is the same thing
showing the bullet,
which they use in the military. We train to shoot at our ranges out to 300 meters without optics or a scope. A good shooter can easily shoot further with an optic. That's about 330 yards. And it's believed the shooter was 200 to 300 yards out. This military officer said the 300 yards is definitely in range, not an easy shot, but 100% in range. And this is very sobering, Whit. He said, I am surprised he didn't hit him. We do know that his ear was grazed and not certain exactly how that happened at this point, although Donald Trump said he believed it was a bullet going by him. But I am surprised he didn't hit him. This
picture taken by the New York Times
says that it was likely, given the sounds he has been listening to all day on that tape that we have been playing and that Donald Trump himself heard and everybody there who was there, that it was far away, but that perhaps the shooter tried one shot, missed, and then got off several very rapidly just into the crowd.
Yeah, 200 to 300 yards away, and that shooter on top of a roof. And Martha, to your point, it is worth emphasizing that. I mean, former President Trump says that he heard the bullet whizzing by and that it pierced the top of his ear, literally inches away from taking his life.
It certainly would have been if it in fact is proven to be a bullet that went right by his ear. Millimeters, and you know, the way you turn your head or you don't turn your head. And again, that we have to emphasize this was clearly in range for a weapon like that, whether the shooter had a scope, whether the shooter did not have a scope. Even without a scope, this military officer says you can take someone out at that range. Again, the dangers of these kinds of events with people way outside of the event itself, way outside security, and that is something the Secret Service is going to have to look at, local law enforcement as well, how this person got on that roof undetected by police or anyone else carrying a rifle up there, carrying an AR-15.
And again, we still don't have information about the threat itself, the motive, who the shooter was. We haven't even been told by law enforcement, you know, whether they think the threat is over. So still a lot more information to come. Martha, thank you so much.
Well, they've clearly neutralized the shooter.
And throughout the evening here, we've been speaking with many other eyewitnesses. You heard from Rachel earlier. We spoke to some live on the air who were at the rally describing how the former president had just started to speak and then the shots rang out.
What you saw and what you heard. You said that you heard the popping sounds and you got down?
Sounds. At first you think like maybe...
TMZ is saying he was struck by glass and not a bullet.
And then somebody yelled, get down. We got down, and we huddled.
Once again, that could be the reporting of an eyewitness that we heard earlier.
And thank God, a little while later, we got up. When we saw other people get up, we saw Trump get up, raise his fist like I'm okay, and we kept praying.
I felt really bad. I'm worried about our grandchildren. What kind of life are they going to have if this goes on, if people don't have the right to say what they want?
Jimmy Carter has released a statement.
Front. You weren't.
Who is still alive.
From here to where that thing is.
And you got down. You said you got down immediately.
Yeah. Love the man. They put him in hospice like 2 years ago.
Like
said he's on his last days and he's still fucking kicking.
For us to hurry up and get down.
Well, I mean, I saw all the Secret Service kind of cover Trump.
Also ripped to Richard Simmons.
Making sure he was protected.
I had to break that to Curiouser, who is
good care of
a huge fan.
Understanding what was going on and being serious but not freaking everybody out.
What was your initial reaction when you heard those popping noises?
To get down. Yeah, so I actually, my boyfriend pushed me on the ground and, went on top of me, which was, really nice. But I think a lot of people, were a little, too shocked to understand what was going on originally, for sure. But I think everyone listened pretty well, and it was handled pretty well.
Did you see some of that commotion that was playing out on the other side of the bleacher where we saw law enforcement agents sort of swarm around another individual, or did you ultimately just rush out?
No, we were there for a minute because they did tell us to go back down again just in case. I think that was good because it helped calm people down. But I think one of the stands that I was next to, they did carry out a man, and there was another one that might have been injured. I'm not 100% sure.
There's not even speculation on who the shooter is.
And on the other stand on the other side, because I was on the right, on the left, there were a bunch of men in uniform surrounding someone. So that was interesting to see.
You said that you were very impressed by the speed in which Secret Service was able to get on that stage within seconds of all of us hearing those popping sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a great job. I definitely felt protected in the situation. The sniper was on it, watching on guard. Everyone on the scene did a great job.
Okay.
It was nerve-wracking in the moment, but I never felt like I was in danger, which was cool. They were on the president.
I might have found a photo of the shooter.
They did a great job protecting him and
getting that one guy that everybody always accuses of being the shooter.
He is doing good, which is good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm the Republican nominee for the Senate in Pennsylvania. I was in the front row, and President Trump had just announced me and said he was going to have me come up on the stage, and said
we should let Jimmy Carter be president.
A number of shots, I think probably 7 or 8 shots. It wasn't clear whether they would come from one place or 2 places. At least I couldn't tell. And immediately there was a.
That's the second person we've heard say there might be 2 shooters.
Got on top of and knocked down President Trump and got on top of him, and then he stood back up, and you sort of saw this fist come out, sort of a defiant.
Little tiny fist.
Like he was okay,
little fucking tiny fist.
Couldn't tell for sure. It looked like there was some blood, but it wasn't obvious. And then the entire crowd went to the ground because we weren't sure whether the shots were done. And then unfortunately, over my
That's
shoulder,
the dude that I was saying looked like Carlos Santana.
I was in the.
It was apparently
ground,
a QAnon figure they say is actually JFK Jr.
Behind me, it looked like there was a man who was severely injured. There was a lot of blood, and his people around him were trying to administer first aid.
Matter, I can tell you that clinically totally understands the dire situation that we find ourselves in. It doesn't care. Is actually probably takes a perverse pleasure in it.
See, I don't know.
It has a cynical outlook upon life.
Apprehended, because as you might imagine, once that happened, the crowd was.
Let me know if I misrepresented you.
And it was very hard to know what was going on, and we're still there at the rally, just sitting trying to get out because the traffic is so backed up.
And Dave, your
exactly
confirm some of this reporting that we're getting about a shooter and potential bystanders who were hurt. Just talk more about your initial reaction. I mean, seeing this, you're running for Senate in the state of Pennsylvania. You're about to walk up on the stage. You're getting introduced by the former president, and then you hear these shots.
I feel like I know you pretty well. We've been around the block a few times together.
You weren't inside the event, nope. But you were just outside. Tell us what you saw. And
So we had a party here all day. You can see behind us at the Brinkles Farming Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up. And probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking, I'm estimating here, I have no idea, but we noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service.
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the
police had their thumbs up their ass.
From the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Pepperin. What's up, my friend? Welcome in.
They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here?
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh, yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
That's incredibly shocking.
The guy was on the roof right there. You can see the white roof. Right there.
Did you get a look at him? Could you?
No, other than he was in muted colors, tan type clothing. We saw the rifle flinging around as he was trying to crawl. I mean, we saw the rifle, 100%.
Do you know about guns? Do you know what kind of weapon it was?
Oh, I absolutely know about guns, for sure. It was a rifle of some sort. I wouldn't know, I wasn't close enough to read the label on it.
No, sure. But a high velocity weapon.
It was a rifle of some sort. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you process what you've just seen?
I don't know what to say, man. I'll tell you is, if I walked up close to there with anything that Secret Service considered a problem, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you right now. But I don't know why a guy who we're standing there pointing out to police and Secret Service is crawling up the roof. Yes, right there by that tree. We were outside the security perimeter. But my question is, there's only a few buildings around here. Why is Secret Service not on every building?
Yeah.
Here.
Well, there's a whole bunch of questions, I think, that are going to come.
There's a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Fucking wow. Fantastic interview.
There's a lot of people very, very frightened.
If you're just joining us, Trump shot earlier. Porg, he's okay. He's fine. This is the original, the raw footage. The shooting. This happened about 3 hours and some change ago.
If you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened. And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Lord. Good evening.
And if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Luckily, it's only about 4 months. But I mean, yeah, there's some afterbirth after the election we'll have to put up with.
Then if you want to really see something that said
that time period's usually not exciting, but you know, last time we had the whole Four Seasons Hotel, we had all the court cases. Go back. This is ABC News Live.
And in the coming days. Well, let's go back to our entire team who've been with us on the air for several hours now. John Carl is in Milwaukee because that was supposed to be the location for all the news this week at the Republican National Convention.
I'd assume we're still having the convention.
Sources there. In fact, you were in an interview when reports of these shots first came out.
I wasn't in a formal interview, but I was standing on the floor of the convention with the person who was running this convention, Michael Whatley, the chairman of the Republican National Committee. We were just, talking about the big week's plans ahead, speculating on when Trump will actually make the announcement of his running mate when this news broke. And as you can imagine, shockwaves throughout the hall. Nobody really had any idea yet what had happened other than those initial reports and that shocking live video. He took a call from one of his aides, and
it's already boosted his popularity pouring. Like, people are fucking loving this shit.
What was going on? This has effectively put a freeze on the campaign.
This is probably animated the right more than anything else could.
In Milwaukee, where although the convention is starting on Monday, you are already seeing Republicans from.
And listen, I wouldn't doubt that it was a right winger that tried to do it.
Welcome reception tonight. As you can imagine, that has been canceled. All events, the pre-convention events, have been canceled. Over on the Democratic
50-50.
side, we've heard
whether it's a right-wing nut or a left-wing nut.
Outgoing communications. They say that they are working to pull down all of the political.
I had the most awesome chillum, and it broke one day when I was cleaning it out.
As this
campaign
shit is effectively put in a state of deep freeze, and then we're hearing statements across the political spectrum. I think most
it animates people that he needed that might have stayed home.
President George W. Bush.
Because the quesadilla, that's where we're at with this election, is how many of the people that voted for each candidate in 2020 can the two of them get to vote for them again?
By the Secret Service, we heard a similar statement.
Neither one will get as many as they got.
Similar statement from Bill and Hillary Clinton. We've heard statements from the president's allies and from
good
his,
evening.
Political opponents, all saying that violence.
Also, for those of you who may be just joining us, Purgatoris. One more time, we'll do the original, the raw footage.
Then, if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
It was in Pennsylvania. He is okay. He was grazed by probably a bullet.
That said, take a look at what happened.
This is a picture of the bullet here. But what actually injured him could have been shrapnel. It is a very wild picture.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
That was the raw video. Let's go over to, this was a BBC News interview.
Greg was someone who was here. You weren't inside the event,
nope,
but you were just outside. Tell us what you saw. And
So we had a party here all day at the. You can see behind us at the Brinkles Farming Greenhouse here. We had a party, and we all decided, hey, when we hear Trump up there, we're going to walk up through the field, stand by the trees up there under the shade, and watch and listen to the rally. Right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, But we noticed the guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, and, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2 or 3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at them for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? This is not a big place.
Did you see? Obviously, everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh, yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, just be careful, because we don't quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy?
Absolutely.
You asked him what happened?
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
It's incredibly shocking.
The guy was on the roof right there. You can see the white roof. Right there.
Did you get a look at him? Could you?
No, other than he was in muted colors, tan type clothing. We saw the rifle flinging around as he was trying to crawl. We saw the rifle, 100%.
Do you know about guns? Do you know what kind of weapon it was?
Oh, I absolutely know about guns, for sure. No, it was a rifle.
He challenged his manhood.
I wasn't close enough to read the label on it,
but a high velocity.
It was a rifle of some sort. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you process what you've just seen?
I don't know what to say, man. I'll tell you is, if I walked up close to there with anything that Secret Service considered a problem, I wouldn't be standing here talking to you right now. But I don't know why a guy who we're standing there pointing out to police and Secret Service is crawling up the roof. Yes, right there by that tree. We were outside the security perimeter. But my question is, there's only a few buildings around here. Why is Secret Service not on every building here?
He's asking the reporter questions.
I think that they're going to come.
There's a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
I don't know. Does that catch everybody up? Everybody know what happened? Now we'll go back to the live stream.
At least
ABC
efforts that you jumped in.
Nick, no, he's probably going to have more rallies.
And of course, our hearts go out to all the victims and you as well. And we're thankful that you're okay and able to share your story. Thank you very much tonight.
Thank you.
Again, that's one of the many witness accounts that we've received from Rico Elmore there. Really horrific in how this played out. These terrifying and chaotic moments that people described for us, and it went from
also Venus, did I tell you good evening?
Eager to hear from the former president to within a matter of seconds.
Did I tell you good evening?
The pop that people thought.
Apparently they're already selling the shirt with the fist raised with the bloody ear.
Came into focus. Let's go back to Martha Raddatz. Martha, I know you've been talking to sources here, and I gotta say, it's one thing when we get the reports from law enforcement. But when you hear from a witness who, witnessed someone die before their very eyes, it's a reminder of just how horrific and historic this event was today.
And how tragic. Yeah. And I think most of us just saw what happened to former President Trump, and we're all thankful he is okay. But what
I'm sorry, Media Wins. Good evening.
Hearing the story of that young soldier or military person leaping into action, which is not a surprise, going there for a jubilant celebration and having to deal with that kind of tragedy is sobering to us all. I do know that the weapon that
and proud to be an American,
fired
or at least I know I'm
300 yards away or even more, and could have been.
I think it's 2016. Wasn't he in like a airplane, airport, a hangar?
More people. He very well could have killed former President Trump. Even though he was 200 or 300 yards away, because that kind of weapon has that kind of range. We don't know yet whether he had a scope on that weapon or any sort of.
Inside a building. Are you sure it wasn't like a hangar?
So,
like I felt like there was a plane behind him.
He was clearly shooting within range of President Trump.
Yeah, still so many questions about how this played out, who this shooter was, the motivation there, you know, and where the investigation goes from here. Martha Raddatz, as always, thank you. Let's go to Josh Margolin,
damn it, Martha.
Senior investigative producers, who's been getting new details from law enforcement. Josh, what are you learning?
With the key part of the investigation, a key part of the investigation will be on looking at where the shooter was, this elevated position, as the Secret Service now confirms. Elevated positions have long been perceived.
This was at some sort of fairground.
As a real risk to events, to people that gather. Look, just in recent years, we saw the Highland Park, Illinois mass shooting on July 4th, 2022. That was a shooter who was at an elevated position. Of course, the Las Vegas massacre, the worst mass shooting in American history, that was with a shooter who fired down from an elevated position on the Las Vegas Strip. And obviously, we can't forget President Kennedy was killed by a gunman who was located floors above the motorcade that Kennedy was in when he was assassinated. Elevated positions are the Secret Service prepares for this. So a key thing is going to be, how did this gunman get to the location? Why was that location available to that person?
Exactly. And I think obviously this is early on, and it's hard to ask some of these hypothetical questions now. But Josh, you know, like all the surveillance and the scanning of these areas that go into place before the event even occurs.
Yes.
The drones and the helicopters and
had to go through all that
devices up
shit.
above. It's hard to imagine how something like this could have been missed from 200, 300 yards away, a rooftop elevated position. That will definitely be part of the investigation going forward.
Absolutely. And in fact, the Secret Service has already gone public during the January 6th.
Apparently have footage of the roof
Donald
that
Trump
the shooter
was holding
on.
that rally. There is, I understand, there is footage of the body of a man on top of that building with what appears to be a gun next to him. It looks like it could be a rifle of some sort. We don't know if this is the actual gunman involved, but we do know that the Secret Service did say that those shots fired at that rally in Pennsylvania, where Donald Trump was speaking, did come from an elevated position. But as I say, we don't yet know that this is the actual gunman. Well, let's bring in our U.S. correspondent, Martha Kellner. And Martha, this appears to be a very fast-moving investigation now.
Yeah, it is an investigation being led by the Secret Service, supported by the Justice Department and the FBI. If these pictures are what they appear to be, if that is a shooter deceased on top of that building 150 metres away from the rally venue, if that is the shooter who discharged the bullets that led to the incident inside that rally venue, there will be questions asked about where the Secret Service security perimeter ended, if this building was outside that Secret Service perimeter, and if it was outside, why was it outside? Just to reflect again that press statement from the United States Secret Service, they say that at approximately 6:15 p.m, a suspected shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside of the rally venue. US Secret Service personnel neutralised the shooter, who is now deceased. US Secret Service quickly responded with protective measures, and the former president is safe and being evaluated. One spectator was killed, 2 spectators were critically injured. This incident is currently under investigation, and the Secret Service has formally notified the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Also just getting a statement now from the Secretary of Homeland Security, who says that the US Secret Service Director Cheetle and I have briefed President Biden on today's shooting in Pennsylvania. This statement goes on to say that the Secret Service are working with law enforcement partners to respond to and investigate the shooting. We condemn this violence in the strongest possible terms and commend the Secret Service for their swift action today. But these are quite stunning pictures now that we're seeing, these helicopter pictures above a building in Butler County, Pennsylvania, still unconfirmed as.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said,
I can't speak to the veracity of this.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened. And you know,
I think that, like, yeah, he notices something is up apparently, and then after the phone ducks down, he takes out the shooter. Apparently, I cannot speak to the veracity of this photo. I don't know what the spectator index is.
Will bring every
video
resource to this investigation. And we have some more clarity now about exactly how this is going to unfold.
This is back to ABC News Live.
The National Security Division, along with the FBI, will oversee this investigation with support from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Pittsburgh. So what that means is that this is officially being looked at as an assassination plot. Potentially that is going to be investigated until they can, as another source said, determine otherwise. That tells you the level of concern. Also, I'm being told by sources that law enforcement will be looking at security for all major public events, particularly those involving politicians, in the coming days. As you said, Whit, the elevated threat environment has been of great concern by the FBI director, and sources within the Attorney General's office have been telling me repeatedly in recent weeks that the biggest concern he had going forward toward the fall was this spike in threats of political violence, and the fact that also terrorism, ISIS, all these different things were surging at precisely the same time. That is the environment that we face ourselves with. And the other thing that's very important, too, from a source I just spoke with, is that until they can get a definitive blueprint, understanding of.
So this was the roof that the shooter was on.
Not releasing very much information.
This was where Trump was standing. This is where we saw Secret Service just now.
They cannot yet say that.
Pierre Thomas, thank you. Let's go back to John Carl.
Yeah, that's the sniper that we saw.
RNC.
Yeah, this is a joint
the roof
from the Trump campaign and from the Republican.
where the shots came from.
And we just got this in, so I'm going to be reading this to you for the first time here on the air. Statement from the Trump campaign and the RNC. As was communicated earlier this evening, President Trump is doing well and grateful to law enforcement and to first responders for their fast action. President Trump looks forward to joining you all in Milwaukee as we proceed with our convention to nominate him to serve as the 47th President of the United States. As our party's nominee, President Trump will continue to share his vision to make America great again. So the key line there is that President Trump looks forward to joining you here in Milwaukee to continue the plans for our convention nothing is changing here in terms of the convention going forward. In fact, an individual I spoke to who has been involved in the planning here said they were still working things out, but predicted that the convention wouldn't just continue, but it will continue with a vengeance. I expect not just all 4 days of this convention to take place, but it to be a very energized convention and very much focused on portraying Donald Trump as somebody who couldn't even be stopped by an attempted assassin.
All right, John Carl, let's go to someone who knows a lot about Republican conventions, and Reince Priebus, our political contributor, who's also a former head of the RNC and former chief of staff at one time under Trump. Reince is joining us on the phone right now. First, Reince, can you just give me your reaction? What are you hearing from Republicans across the board?
Well, obviously, like everybody, it's just horrific and dreadful, and it's a sad day. It's, innocent person was killed, and maybe others. We just don't know the extent of this stuff, but it's just a sad reminder of how violent some people can be, and seemingly our inability to stop it. So it's all of those emotions all at the same time. So, and we're also gathered right now with, what soon will be about 50,000 people in Milwaukee to celebrate our nominee and also celebrate our community in Milwaukee and in Wisconsin. And obviously it's tragic in a lot of ways. So I'm obviously grateful and I'm grateful that the guy was killed, but the whole thing's tragic. Lots of lost life and obviously just a lot of mixed emotions. Let me just put it that way.
Ryan, speaking of those mixed emotions, I mean, we've heard a number of statements from politicians on all sides of the aisle, most condemning the violence and saying that, this can never stand. It should not happen. But we are also hearing some who are pointing the finger and placing blame. What's your reaction to that? Is there a place for that kind of conversation right now in this moment?
I don't think so. I mean, I think you have to think and you have to contemplate. And in the case of blame, I guess you can investigate what happened and why it happened. And, I'm sure there's going to be a time for that. But I just don't feel comfortable getting into that right now. There's obviously sick people out there, and they don't care about life. They don't care about their own life. So you don't care about your own life. You don't care about other people's lives. You get tragic results, and it's more sad, I think, than anything. I think that's probably the overwhelming feeling of most people.
Reince Priebus, thank you for your time tonight. We do appreciate it. I want to go back to John Santucci, our executive editor on investigations. And John, you've been in close contact with the Trump family tonight. They gave you some of the first statements directly about Trump's condition, that he was receiving medical treatment, that he's doing okay, he's doing fine. And also he claims that he was shot, that it was a bullet that grazed the top of his ear. What more are they telling you tonight?
Yeah, well, Whit, first, a very rare public statement from Ivanka Trump. Of course, this was the only member of the Trump family that went to the White House with Donald Trump when he, of course, won and ascended to the presidency in 2017. Ivanka writing on Twitter with tonight, well, thank you for your love and prayers for my father and for the other victims of today's senseless violence in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm grateful to the Secret Service and all the other law enforcement officers for their quick and decisive action today. I continue to pray for our country. I love you, Dad, today and always. That statement from Ivanka Trump posted to her Twitter account. And again, a very rare public statement from the former first daughter because, as we know, unlike her two brothers, being the three eldest children of the former president, they have still stayed very actively involved in Donald Trump's political life. Ivanka has really gone off into a private life with her husband, Jared Kushner. You mentioned with other members of the family I've spoken to, I did have a very brief exchange with Eric Trump, Of course, you'll recall from all of the trials that his father faced earlier this year, Eric Trump a fixture by his father's side in that Manhattan courtroom. We were, of course, at the Manhattan DA's case earlier this year. Eric Trump telling me that his father is the toughest man I have ever met. Not elaborating on his father's condition, but, nevertheless, right there in his father's corner, as he has been, of course, let's not forget.
Hello, good evening.
Laura Trump, as you well know, second
good evening.
Of the Republican National Committee. It'll be
lend Trump my ear. I'll lend him my dick to piss in his fucking ear.
Kicked off in Milwaukee on Monday, and finally, with his ABC.
I believe the Secret Service doesn't swear an oath to the Constitution. Like their duty is solely to protect the president, as I understand
Nothing
it.
is going to stop him, and of course, again,
I may be wrong on that, but as I understand it, they are, they're sworn to just protect the president with their lives.
To continue the political mantle of his father, and it's actually a rare occurrence that the two sons, one or the other, was not with.
If anybody else just got here and needs the rundown of what happened, let me know.
Present, whether it be in the courtroom or on the campaign trail with.
John Santucci, thank you. Let's go back to our chief White House.
You're watching ABC News Live.
Mary, we know that President Biden is in Rehoboth, Delaware for the weekend, but he has been following developments briefed by his staff and the Secret Service. And then he came out before the cameras earlier today condemning the violence, saying that there's no place in
this is a failure, Secret Service.
Violence. What more do we know about his activities tonight? We know that he did reach out to former President Trump directly.
Yeah, he did. He is still trying to get in touch with the former president. We know that he reached out to him in a rare move. President Biden actually referring to his rival by his first name, saying he was trying to get a hold of Donald. The president coming out and forcefully condemning this kind of violence, saying it is sick, saying there's no place in America for this kind of violence, saying it's one of the reasons that this.
Amazing you didn't call him David or something.
One of the reasons why we have to unite the country, saying we cannot be like this. He said, a Trump rally should be something that is allowed to be conducted peacefully without any kind of problems like this. And while the president did refer to this as political violence, he did not go so far to call it an assassination attempt. He was asked that directly. The president instead saying that he had an opinion, but that he didn't have any facts. We know he continues to be briefed and updated by this. He has been briefed by the Director of Homeland Security, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Director of the Secret Service, his Homeland Security advisor. He remains for now at Rehoboth, Delaware. He was there at his beach house for the weekend. He actually was leaving Mass when he learned of this incident.
That's what I was thinking, Snicks.
He wanted to come out and speak.
It was like Trump probably declined the call.
This, there is no question, completely upends and changes this race. The president is now, and his campaign are trying to turn down the temperature. They're pulling down their political communications, pulling down their ads. It's not just, we've been talking about how this will or will not impact the Republican National Convention. This will also have a huge impact on the president's campaign as well.
Holy shit, what a wild time we're in for.
Any of his upcoming events as well. He's supposed to be out on the road in Texas and in Nevada.
It's only July.
Change, one of many remaining questions. But the president and many of those close to him, we have seen a slew of his cabinet officials and advisors coming out and calling to sort of dial down rhetoric in this country. One of the big remaining questions is whether that will happen or whether this incident will further divide this country with.
And that will be a big test, Mary, we've been talking about. I want to follow up on that because while the president and his campaign, at least publicly, are talking about dialing down the rhetoric, we have seen some politicians out there already placing blame that would appear to only turn up the heat across the country. How is the Biden campaign, how are others who you're talking to responding to that sort of rhetoric?
Yeah, look, you are already seeing those who are trying to politicize this. We have seen from some Republicans, including
Republicans are already blaming Biden.
The very short list is a possible VP pick for Donald Trump, coming out and suggesting that Joe Biden's rhetoric is partly to blame for this, noting that the president has been running a campaign very much centered on Biden's argument that Donald Trump is a danger to democracy.
He is a danger to democracy.
To use this as a moment to bring the country together. Of course, that sentiment is something that his campaign strongly disagrees with. But I think it is no surprise, given how divisive the rhetoric in this country is now, given how divided our nation is, that we are unfortunately seeing, just shortly after a horrific incident like this, that there are, efforts to politicize some of this. How this plays out, of course, remains to be seen.
This is such a pivotal moment in the campaign as we move towards.
Okay, I cannot show this photo, but yes,
it remains
they blew his head off.
Will respond. Mary Bruce, thank you.
They absolutely blew his head off.
At that event in Pennsylvania today, John Dohanish was there, and he is joining us now on the phone. John, if you can hear me, just walk us through what you saw and heard.
Hey, yeah. So, well, first, I just wanted to send out my condolences and prayers to the families of the victims. It was just crazy to just watch that so fast. But I'm just going to jump right into it, right to when the shots happened. Trump started his speech, and immediately it sounded like what everyone's saying, like fireworks or firecrackers. And as soon as I heard the first one, I looked over. We were probably right in the middle of the stands. If you're facing Trump, we were in the left section underneath the screen, right in the front row. I just saw the bullets hitting the stands, bouncing up, and I thought they were like the shells at first. Like I thought someone was right beside us. And then I heard the pause. There was the 4 shots, maybe a 5-second pause, and then the rest of the 4 shots that I then heard. And then all of a sudden, I'm hearing everyone just screaming, get down, get down. I'm hearing get a medic. I'm seeing people with blood on them. I'm trying to help people get down. And I look up, I see the
Stargazer, good evening.
Trump immediately.
You may be right.
Saying that was just highly impressive. But yeah, that was basically it from that. It just happened all so fast.
I'm sure, and John, again,
clinically, what's the link? I'm sorry. Okay.
This was happening as the shots were fired, and you're there.
Let me go back.
In real time. Was there a moment when fear started to settle in, when you realized, oh, this is real, this is really happening, these are gunshots, and now I'm worried about my own safety and the safety of others?
So, I wouldn't.
Content warning for the link I'm getting ready to put in. This is the. They blurred part of it out, but it's still graphic.
Older people. So I was more worried about trying to get them down before I can get myself, because I knew I was going to. I have my faith in God, so I knew I was going to be okay, but I just wanted to help other people get down, and I had someone, person with me. I was covering them. They were crying. I was trying to calm them down, help them keep calm. I told them just to
remember the 5th of November.
I just kept telling everything was going to be okay, but unfortunately for those 2 victims, or if there was more, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Link is no good.
Were you close to some of the victims?
Probably about 5 to 7 feet away from the one gentleman in the stands there, who I guess it was someone's father there.
And how quickly after seeing that victim did you realize that person wasn't?
They took the tweet down.
Was it immediate?
It was immediate. Like I seen. Whenever I heard he got hit in the head, from what I heard, I seen someone else give the signal that he didn't make it, and that just infuriated me. That just enraged me, and I just have a feeling that we're gonna come back and come out stronger than ever. I feel now.
And when you say, of course, there's such a mix of emotions, right? And you were there, and you're still processing.
Did the other link work?
But when you say we're going to come out of this stronger, what do you mean by that? You mean
as if they take shit down?
Uniting,
yeah. As a one, I feel like people are going to hopefully
goes nowhere. How in the fuck?
Joining together and come out as one against the evil coming into the world or into our country. However you want to look at it like that. Stand up, I guess we could say.
John Dohanish, we appreciate your time tonight, and we're thankful that you are.
It's this motherfucker's Twitter. Go to his Twitter.
Sorry. And our hearts ache for you and others who had to witness this horror, and of course the families of those who were killed and injured. John, thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Once again, for those of you who are just tuning in, we're coming to 10 p.m. Eastern time here, the top of the hour. We've been on this story for hours. I'm with Johnson in New York. We are following the major
it happened about
shooting at a campaign
4 hours ago.
President Donald Trump. This happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. On the right side of your screen right there, you're seeing the events play out in real time. It was a matter of seconds. The president described the incident on Truth Social a short time ago, saying that he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear. And you could actually see in the video moments before.
I don't think we're going to get any updates tonight. Hopefully tomorrow by the Troll Patrol. I'm sorry, gaslighting links. I swear they work. Hopefully tomorrow by the Troll Patrol we'll know something about this shooter and what his motive might have been. I'm still saying 50-50. Could be a right winger, could be a left winger. That's a kitty. It's a very cute kitty too. Holy shit, what a... Boy, are we going to have a fun time for the next couple months covering this election. Jesus Christ. If you're watching on Twitch, we're going to head over to Riverboat Jack, who I'm sure is looking lovely tonight. He's still talking about the whole Trump ordeal. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol, live.